Elon Musk sat alone in his minimalist office, the walls adorned with sleek designs and ambitious goals. It was a quiet afternoon, the kind of moment that seemed almost too perfect for a man whose life was usually a whirlwind of projects, headlines, and high-stakes decisions. Yet, in that silence, Elon felt a gnawing sensation in the pit of his stomach, a feeling he couldn't shake. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Tesla had revolutionized the automotive world, but something didn't sit right with him anymore. The company had grown so large, so influential, and yet Elon wondered if they had lost sight of the very core principles that had driven them to success. He had built Tesla from the ground up, but now it felt as though it was spiraling into something he could no longer control. The passion, the innovation, the energy that had once defined the company now seemed like distant memories. As he stared out the window of his office, the city below bustling with life, his thoughts wandered. What had happened to Tesla? Was it still the company he had envisioned? A place where people worked together to push the boundaries of technology for the greater good? Or had it become just another corporate giant, driven more by profits and stock prices than the ideals that had once fueled its existence? In that moment, a bold idea began to form in his mind. What if he could step into the company as just another employee? What if he could truly understand what was happening on the ground level, away from the corporate boardrooms and the media spotlight? He could go undercover, blend in, and see things as they really were, without the lens of fame or authority distorting his view. He leaned back in his chair, thinking about the logistics. There was no way anyone would ever expect him to go undercover. As the CEO of Tesla and one of the most famous entrepreneurs in the world, he was a public figure, constantly in the limelight. No one would imagine that he'd willingly step away from the power and comfort of his position. But that was exactly the point. Could I do it? Elon murmured to himself. Could I go undercover and discover the truth, whatever it may be? The more he thought about it, the more the idea seemed to make sense. He couldn't just sit idly by, reading reports and listening to secondhand accounts. If he wanted to understand what was really going on at Tesla, he had to experience it firsthand. He had to see what the employees saw, hear what they heard, and feel what they felt. Only then would he know if the company was still on track, or if it had lost its way entirely. Elon picked up his phone and typed a quick message to his trusted assistant, Sarah. I'm going to do something crazy. Set up a fake identity for me. A new hire at Tesla. Keep it under wraps. I need to go undercover. He stared at the message for a moment before hitting send. It felt like the start of something significant, something that could change everything. The truth could be ugly, or it could be the breakthrough Tesla needed. Either way, he had to find out. Elon sat there for a moment, considering the magnitude of his decision. This wasn't just about Tesla, it was about the future. If he could get to the heart of what was happening within the company, maybe he could fix it before it spiraled further out of control. He stood up, walked over to the large window, and looked out over the city once again. This could be the most important decision of my life. He wasn't sure what the outcome would be, but one thing was certain. He was going to find out the truth, whatever it took. Elon Musk had always been driven by one singular obsession: to change the world. From the very beginning, he had thrown himself into projects that seemed impossible to others. His journey from the co-founder of PayPal to the founder of SpaceX and Tesla was nothing short of legendary. People had called him a visionary, a genius, and a pioneer. But those labels, as flattering as they were, didn't quite capture the essence of who he was. For Elon, it wasn't about fame or fortune. It was about the challenge, the thrill of breaking barriers and redefining what was possible. It was about leaving a legacy that would shape the future for generations to come. And that was exactly why he had created Tesla, to revolutionize the auto industry and accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, to make the impossible possible. But somewhere along the way, he had lost his connection to that initial spark, the raw, unfiltered passion that had driven him. Tesla had grown into a massive corporation with thousands of employees, billions of dollars in assets, and a stock price that fluctuated with every move he made. The company had become a machine, and like all machines, it had its gears and cogs that sometimes got jammed. It was hard to tell which decisions were motivated by pure innovation and which were driven by the pressure of maintaining an empire. In the early days, it had been all about the product. Elon and his small team worked tirelessly, engineering the Tesla Roadster from scratch, pushing every boundary. They were passionate about one thing: making electric cars desirable. No one in the world had created a car like this before, and Elon wanted to prove that electric vehicles didn't have to be boring or impractical. He remembered the long nights spent with engineers, tweaking prototypes, making decisions on the fly, and sometimes even getting into heated arguments over tiny details. But those arguments had been driven by a common goal: to make the best possible product. Over the years, Tesla grew, and so did its challenges. Production delays, financial crises, regulatory hurdles, all of which threatened the company's survival at one point or another. Elon had put everything on the line: his money, his time, and his reputation, to make Tesla a success. And for a while, it worked. The Model S was a triumph. The Model 3 revolutionized the mass-market electric vehicle. And then came the Cybertruck, with its bold, almost absurd design. But despite the success, Elon felt increasingly disconnected from the company's day-to-day operations. Tesla had become more than just an idea. It was a sprawling corporate entity with thousands of employees, each with their own agendas, challenges, and visions. Somewhere in the middle of it all, the Tesla that he had created, the Tesla that was supposed to change the world, seemed to have lost its edge. The tipping point had come when he started hearing rumblings from employees, rumors of discontent. It was subtle at first: casual remarks from engineers about the pressure they were under, whispers about missed deadlines, and complaints about decisions coming from the top that didn't make sense. The deeper Elon dug, the more he realized that the very company he had built might not be the idealistic powerhouse he had imagined. And so, the decision to go undercover came about. He couldn't fix something he didn't understand, and the only way to truly understand was to immerse himself in the company as an ordinary employee. No titles, no special privileges, no perks, just another face in the crowd. As he started to think about the logistics of his plan, Elon realized just how drastic it would be. He would have to give up his power, his status, and even his identity. People in Tesla knew him. Everyone knew who he was. But if he was going to pull this off, he had to remain invisible. He couldn't afford to let anyone recognize him. That's when he turned to Sarah, his trusted assistant. She had been with him for years and knew how to keep things under wraps. It wasn't the first time they'd done something unorthodox. Elon was no stranger to high-risk decisions. But this was different. This wasn't about business strategy or market positioning. This was about getting back to the heart of the company. "Sarah," he said, after sending her the cryptic message about his plan, "I'm going to need a new identity, a whole new persona, something completely unremarkable." She was quiet for a moment, processing the request. "A new hire? At Tesla?" "Exactly," Elon replied. "I need to see it all from the ground up. No more boardroom politics. No more headlines. I need to know what it's really like to be a Tesla employee." She nodded, understanding the gravity of what he was asking. "I'll handle it. Don't worry about a thing." Elon had always been a man of action. His success had come from his ability to take risks and think outside the box. This time, though, the stakes were higher than ever before. The future of Tesla, the company he had poured his heart and soul into, was at a crossroads. Elon needed answers, and this undercover mission, no matter how crazy it sounded, was his only shot at finding them. As he closed his laptop and leaned back in his chair, he thought about the road ahead. He would have to adapt to a world where he was no longer in control. He would have to follow the rules, keep his head down, and blend in with the rest of the employees. No more grand gestures, no more press conferences, and certainly no more media attention. Just Elon Musk, the new hire. A part of him was excited about the challenge, what he might discover, the people he might meet, the secrets he might uncover. But another part of him felt a sense of loss. This was the man who had revolutionized the car industry. Now, he was going to have to act like just another face in the crowd. It was time to dive deep. No more titles, no more fame. Just the truth. Elon Musk stood in front of a mirror, adjusting his appearance for what felt like the thousandth time. He wasn't sure why he was so nervous. He had faced rockets launching into space and built a car company from scratch, yet here he was, about to take on a role he had never considered. An anonymous employee at Tesla. A part of him felt ridiculous, but another part of him was intrigued. This was the first time in years he would experience the company from the ground level, without the privileges of being its CEO. He had changed his look just enough to throw off anyone who might recognize him. He was wearing a simple black t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers, standard Tesla attire. His hair was a little longer than usual, and he wore glasses that made him look less like the tech mogul everyone knew and more like an average engineer. The name badge he wore read, David Hunter, the identity Sarah had crafted for him, one that came with a fabricated background and a spotless resume. Elon took a deep breath and walked out of the small room he'd rented in a nearby apartment complex, where he'd been living under the radar for the past few days. His official Tesla email had been activated, and he'd been assigned to work in one of the engineering departments. The role was entry-level, a fresh start, in every sense. He stepped out into the crisp morning air, a sense of excitement bubbling within him. It wasn't just the thrill of sneaking into his own company, but the idea that he might discover something important, something transformative. The problems at Tesla weren't just financial or managerial, they were cultural. If he could figure out what had gone wrong with the company's heart, perhaps he could help fix it. As Elon entered the Tesla campus, he felt a strange sense of detachment. He was no longer the founder of the company. He was just another person trying to make his way in a massive organization. The vastness of the campus, the rows of sleek cars in the parking lot, the busy people walking between buildings, all of it seemed so familiar, yet so alien to him now. He had been here hundreds of times before, but this was different. He was one of them now. He walked into the lobby of the main building, where a receptionist greeted him with a polite smile. "Hi, welcome to Tesla. You must be David, right?" Elon nodded, forcing a smile. "Yes, that's me." "Great. Your team is waiting for you on the second floor," she said, handing him a visitor's badge. "Just take the elevator up. You'll meet your manager, Mark. He's expecting you." "Thank you," Elon said, trying to keep his voice casual. He couldn't afford to stand out. If anyone suspected anything, the mission would be over before it even started. He took the elevator up to the second floor, his heart pounding in his chest. He had been to this building countless times, but now, with no name to stand on, it felt different, more daunting, more personal. His mind raced with questions. What would the employees be like? What would the culture be like at this level of the company? The elevator dinged, and the doors opened. Elon stepped out and walked down the hallway, glancing at the office doors as he passed. Most of them were open, and he caught glimpses of employees working diligently at their desks. Some were on the phone, others were deep in conversation, while a few were glued to their computer screens, typing away. His new manager, Mark, was a man in his mid-30s, dressed in a button-down shirt and khakis. He was standing by a desk in a corner cubicle, tapping away at his laptop. When he noticed Elon approach, he stood up and extended a hand. "David, right?" Mark asked with a welcoming smile. "That's me," Elon said, shaking his hand. "Nice to meet you, Mark." "Likewise. Glad to have you on board," Mark said. "You're going to be working with the product development team on the Model X updates. It's a big project, and we've been needing some extra hands." Elon nodded, trying to suppress the excitement bubbling within him. The Model X, it had been one of Tesla's most ambitious projects, and although the vehicle had been a success in many ways, it also had its share of issues. Delays, design problems, and manufacturing hurdles. He had heard about the challenges surrounding the Model X in the press, but now he would get to see it from the inside. Mark led him to a nearby cubicle, where a small team of engineers sat working. "This is your new desk, David. We're a tight-knit group, so feel free to ask anyone anything. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we'll get it done." Elon sat down at his desk and tried to get comfortable. There was a computer, a stack of technical documents, and a few office supplies scattered around. It felt a bit sterile, but then again, that was the corporate world. As the day wore on, Elon realized just how different this experience was from his usual role as CEO. There was no team of executives to brief him on important matters. No media calls. No board meetings. Just a desk, a bunch of spreadsheets, and a few colleagues who had no idea who he was. The work itself was challenging, as expected, but what caught Elon's attention wasn't the technical side of things. It was the atmosphere. The people around him were all talented, but there was something missing. There was a lack of passion. Some of them worked in silence, their heads down, their faces drawn. Others had the occasional conversation, but it was mostly about the mundane details of the job. There was no energy, no excitement, just the routine grind. Where was the spark? Elon wondered. He had been at Tesla when the excitement of the early days had been palpable. Every breakthrough, every small victory had been celebrated. But here, it felt like the magic had worn off. Around mid-afternoon, Elon went to grab a coffee in the break room, hoping to observe more closely. The room was busy with people chatting in small groups, but the conversations were impersonal, about the weather, the traffic, or the latest Netflix show. No one was talking about the big picture. No one was discussing new ideas or innovations. It was as though they were all just going through the motions. Elon couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu. This wasn't what he had envisioned when he founded Tesla. Where had all the drive, the passion, the urgency gone? As he returned to his desk, he caught a glimpse of a colleague, a young engineer named Ben, who was sitting in his cubicle, looking stressed. His computer screen was filled with design schematics, but his face was a mixture of frustration and resignation. Elon knew something was wrong. This wasn't the kind of culture that had driven Tesla's rise to prominence. It was just the opposite. It felt like a company running on fumes, going through the motions but lacking the energy to move forward. Elon had come here to learn the truth, and it was becoming clear. Something at Tesla was fundamentally broken. But what exactly? And how deep did it go? Elon sat back in his cubicle, trying to focus on the stack of technical documents in front of him. The words blurred on the screen, the diagrams and numbers awash of meaning he couldn't quite absorb. His mind kept wandering to the conversations he had overheard in the break room, to the looks of exhaustion on the faces of his colleagues. It was as if the very heart of the company had been drained. Tesla was a far cry from the innovative, rebellious force it once had been. But was it something that could be fixed? The day dragged on in a haze of meetings, conference calls, and endless design updates for the Model X. Elon found himself wondering if this was how it always had been, or if something had shifted during the years he'd been busy with other projects, like SpaceX and the Boring Company. Had he been so absorbed in the larger-than-life goals of colonizing Mars and creating underground transportation that he had overlooked the very company he built? At lunchtime, Elon decided to get away from his desk. He needed to think, to clear his head, and maybe overhear a little more. As he walked through the halls of Tesla's main campus, he passed employees heading to and from meetings, deep in conversation, or just staring at their phones. No one looked particularly excited or motivated. They all seemed like workers, doing their jobs, yes, but lacking the urgency that should have come with working for a company like Tesla. He stopped by the outdoor cafeteria, grabbing a simple sandwich and sitting at an empty table, watching the people around him. It wasn't just the lack of passion that stood out. It was the resignation. The palpable sense that they were stuck in a system that was no longer about revolutionizing the world, but just about surviving the day. As Elon chewed thoughtfully, a pair of engineers from his team walked by, deep in conversation. Their voices were low, but not quiet enough for him to avoid hearing them. "You hear about the new cuts to the research budget?" one of them asked. The other shook his head. "No, but I've heard we're laying off half the team in the next month. Mark's probably going to break it to us in the next meeting. You know what that means, right?" "Yeah. Another round of cuts, more pressure to hit deadlines. We can barely meet the ones we have now." The first engineer sighed. "I don't know how much longer I can take it. Everyone's just burned out." Elon's stomach sank. This wasn't just about a lack of enthusiasm or passion anymore. It was about survival. The engineers he overheard weren't talking about inspiring innovations or breakthroughs. They were talking about layoffs and budget cuts, about survival in a company that had once thrived on pushing boundaries. The excitement, the drive, the sense of being part of something bigger than themselves. It was all fading. He finished his sandwich, his mind racing. How deep did the rot go? And more importantly, who could he trust to help fix it? Just as he was about to return to his desk, Sarah texted him. "How's it going, David?" Any thoughts yet? Elon paused, looking out over the sprawling Tesla campus. I'm not sure. The energy here's off. People are stressed, and it feels like there's no vision anymore. It's all about meeting deadlines, hitting targets, and staying afloat. It's not about innovation. He typed quickly, sending another message. I need to meet with someone outside of my department. Someone who might know more about what's really going on here. Do you think you can set something up? There was a brief pause before Sarah's response came in. I've got someone in mind. I'll make the arrangements. You'll meet him tomorrow at lunch. Don't worry, I've got it covered. Elon pocketed his phone and walked back to his desk. He didn't know what to expect from this meeting, but he had to know more. If there was a problem at Tesla, and he was beginning to suspect it was bigger than just corporate fatigue, he needed to understand where it was coming from. Who was really pulling the strings? The next day, at lunch, Elon found himself waiting in the quiet back corner of a dimly lit cafe near Tesla's campus. He had been given a name, Lucas Chambers. According to Sarah, Lucas was an employee in the Human Resources Department, someone who had been around since Tesla's early days and who had seen the company through all its phases. He was an insider, but someone who had managed to stay outside the politics of the executive team. Elon sipped his coffee nervously, waiting for Lucas to arrive. He wasn't sure what to expect. He had been meeting with engineers and product developers, but he knew that to get the full picture, he needed someone who understood the inner workings of Tesla, someone who could speak to the human side of the company. And that's exactly what Lucas was supposed to be, an expert on the people of Tesla, their culture, and the way things had changed over the years. When the door to the cafe opened, Elon looked up to see a man in his late 40s, dressed in a simple blue button-down shirt and dark jeans. He had a calm, almost reserved demeanor, but there was an unmistakable sense of authority about him. David Hunter? Lucas asked, scanning the room. Elon stood up, extending his hand. That's me, Elon said, his heart racing slightly. Nice to meet you, Lucas said, shaking his hand firmly. Let's sit down. The two men sat across from each other, and Elon immediately realized that Lucas wasn't here to give him small talk. He had a sense of urgency, a quiet intelligence that suggested he knew something was amiss, and he wasn't going to sugarcoat it. So, David, Lucas began, his eyes meeting Elon's with a sharp gaze. I'm going to be honest with you. Tesla's been through some pretty rough patches in the last couple of years. It's not just the pressures of innovation or market share. It's deeper than that. Elon leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. How deep? Lucas hesitated for a moment, then spoke in a lower voice, as if someone might be listening. It's a culture problem. We've lost the people who truly believe in what we're doing. We've lost the innovators, the ones who came here for more than just a paycheck. They've either left, or they're burned out. Elon's mind raced. He had suspected as much, but hearing it from someone inside HR gave it weight. Tesla wasn't just suffering from external pressures. It was struggling to maintain the same internal drive that had once fueled it. Lucas continued. The upper management doesn't get it. They push for results without understanding the toll it takes on people. The real visionaries, the ones who would have pushed us to the next level, are walking away. What's left is a company trying to stay relevant, but without the spark it had in the beginning. Elon felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just about innovation or meeting deadlines. Tesla was on the verge of losing its soul. Is there anything we can do? Elon asked, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Lucas sighed. There's a lot we could do, but we have to address the culture first. We need leaders who can inspire, not just manage. We need to give people a reason to stay, to believe in Tesla again. And that's not going to come from just another product launch. Elon sat back, absorbing the gravity of Lucas's words. For the first time since he had entered Tesla's campus, he realized that the issues ran deeper than he had ever imagined. It wasn't just a corporate slump, it was an existential crisis. And if Tesla was going to survive, it would need to rediscover what made it great in the first place. The following week was a blur. Elon had been carefully observing his colleagues, learning more about the internal culture of Tesla, and, most importantly, trying to figure out how to fix the company from within. He spent his days working alongside engineers on mundane projects and his nights reflecting on the bigger picture. Every conversation, Every subtle gesture seemed to point to the same conclusion. Tesla was in trouble, and the root of the problem wasn't just in the products. It was in the people, the leadership, and the culture that had once defined the company. Elon's next meeting with Lucas confirmed what he already suspected. Lucas wasn't just an HR specialist. He was a witness to the slow, insidious decline of Tesla's once vibrant culture. As they sat together in the same quiet cafe, Lucas leaned in, speaking with the same sense of urgency Elon had noticed during their first conversation. "You've seen it, haven't you?" Lucas said, his voice low. "How people don't talk the same way anymore. There's no excitement, no passion. We used to have engineers who would stay up all night, working on prototypes, perfecting designs because they believed in what we were doing. Now, all I see are people just going through the motions. They're burnt out, and no one seems to care." Elon nodded, feeling a tightness in his chest. "Yeah, I've noticed that. People aren't passionate anymore. They're just existing." Lucas sighed. "And I don't think it's just the pressure. It's the leadership. There's been a shift in the way decisions are made, and not in a good way. The focus is too much on short-term results, the quarterly numbers, the stock price. It's draining everyone." Elon leaned back, processing Lucas's words. Tesla had been built on a foundation of pushing boundaries, challenging the impossible, and making things that had never been done before. But somewhere along the way, that sense of purpose had been replaced with the relentless pursuit of immediate success. "What changed?" Elon asked, the question hanging heavy between them. "It started when we scaled up too fast," Lucas replied, his eyes narrowing. "We hired so many people, and suddenly, there were layers and layers of management. The focus shifted from innovation to process. Everyone was so focused on their own departments, their own KPIs, that the big picture, the mission, got lost. And now it's a company of siloed teams, each just trying to survive their own targets." Elon felt a pang of realization. He had been so focused on Tesla's external growth, on pushing the boundaries of what was possible with electric cars and energy products, that he hadn't seen the internal dysfunction creeping in. The organization that had once been united by a common vision had fractured into competing silos, each chasing its own goals without any sense of cohesion. "Is there any way to fix it?" Elon asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lucas looked at him, his face etched with both concern and hope. "There's always a way to fix it, but it's going to take leadership, the kind of leadership that inspires, that creates a vision people can believe in again. The kind of leadership that listens to its people, that gives them a reason to care beyond just a paycheck." Elon's mind raced. He couldn't help but think of how Tesla had once thrived on that very energy, on the sense of purpose that permeated every level of the company. It had been a company where the employees believed in the mission, not just the product. But now, it felt like the soul of Tesla was being strangled by bureaucracy and a fixation on quarterly profits. "I can't fix this alone," Elon said, more to himself than to Lucas. "I need help." "You're not alone," Lucas replied, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "There are still people here who believe in the mission. They're just waiting for someone to remind them why they're here." Elon sat in silence, processing everything Lucas had said. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. He couldn't just make a few tweaks and hope for the best. If Tesla was going to survive, it would require a complete overhaul, a cultural revolution, and he needed to be the one to lead it. The next morning, Elon arrived early at Tesla's headquarters, his mind already buzzing with ideas. He had made up his mind. It was time to take action. He knew that the first step was to get to the root of the problem. The culture, the leadership, and the loss of passion couldn't be fixed through small changes or top-down mandates. If anything, those had contributed to the mess in the first place. The solution had to come from within the ranks, from the employees who still believed in Tesla's mission but felt disconnected from the company's purpose. Elon sat at his desk, drafting an email to his top executives under his David Hunter alias. He was careful with his words, knowing he couldn't reveal his true identity yet. He needed their trust, and he needed to get them to open up about the issues facing the company without them feeling threatened. The email was simple but direct. "Team, I've been with Tesla for a few weeks now, working on the ground level with the engineers, and I wanted to reach out and share some thoughts. It's become clear to me that we're facing some serious challenges, not just with the products we're building, but with the culture of the company itself. There seems to be a disconnect between the leadership and the rest of the organization. People are burned out, frustrated, and disengaged. Innovation has slowed, and the excitement that once defined us has diminished. We're losing touch with the very essence of what made Tesla so special. I believe that if we want to regain our edge, we need to make some bold moves. It's time to get back to the core principles that drove us to create Tesla in the first place. Pushing boundaries, challenging the impossible, and inspiring people to believe in something greater than themselves. I would like to schedule a meeting with all of you to discuss these issues and brainstorm potential solutions. I know that the path forward won't be easy, but I believe it's possible if we all come together and commit to making Tesla the company it was always meant to be. Please let me know your availability. Sincerely, David Hunter. Elon hit send and leaned back in his chair, his heart pounding. The email had been a calculated risk. He knew that it could go one of two ways. They could either see it as an invitation to share their frustrations or dismiss it as just another corporate memo. But it was a start, a small, subtle push to get the ball rolling. He couldn't help but wonder if any of them would pick up on the fact that the email came from someone on the ground level, someone who had been working side by side with engineers, someone who had seen the real issues firsthand. Would they see it as a call for change, or would they ignore it like so many other corporate initiatives in the past? As the day passed, Elon's anxiety grew. He checked his inbox several times, waiting for a response. But the hours ticked by, and still, there was nothing. Was it too soon to expect change? Had he made a mistake in reaching out this way? Just as he was beginning to lose hope, a single email popped up in his inbox. David, thank you for reaching out. I agree with everything you've said. There's a lot of work to be done, and we need to start somewhere. I'm available tomorrow afternoon for a meeting. Let's make it happen. Best, Mark Williams. Elon smiled. It was a start, and a good one. Elon felt a strange sense of anticipation as he walked into the small conference room the next afternoon. The response from Mark Williams had come as a pleasant surprise. He had expected some hesitation or avoidance, but the email was clear. Mark was ready to take action. That was a good sign. Elon arrived early, wanting to gather his thoughts before the meeting. He sat at the head of the table, the room empty for the moment, and allowed himself a few quiet moments to reflect on everything that had happened since he had started his undercover mission at Tesla. He had seen the cracks in the company's foundation. He had heard the whispers of burnout, the frustration over broken systems, and the growing sense of disillusionment among the employees. But today was different. Today, he was going to challenge his fellow leaders to see the truth and ask for their help in making Tesla something greater again. He took a deep breath just as Mark walked in, followed by two other executives, Sarah, who had been helping him behind the scenes, and Jake, the head of product development. They were all visibly tired, their faces drawn, but there was something different in their eyes as they sat down. They didn't seem to be here for more corporate jargon or another set of spreadsheets. They were here because they, too, knew that something had to change. Thanks for coming, everyone, Elon said, his voice steady but firm. I know this isn't your typical meeting, but I wanted to have a candid conversation about where Tesla is right now and where we need to go from here. Mark leaned forward, his fingers tapping on the table. You've got our attention, David. We know things aren't great, but we're all here to listen. What's on your mind? Elon felt a surge of relief at Mark's response. At least they weren't dismissing him outright. It's simple, Elon began. We've lost the spark, the energy that made Tesla what it is. We've been too focused on hitting quarterly numbers, on efficiency, on corporate growth. But we've lost touch with the reason we started this company in the first place, to change the world, to make things that were impossible seem possible. There was a long silence as the three executives exchanged looks. Jake finally spoke, his voice tinged with frustration. You think we don't know that? We're all trying, David. But we're dealing with major external pressures, supply chain issues, competition, scaling up too fast. We've done everything we can, but sometimes it feels like we're running on fumes. I hear you, Elon said, nodding. But that's the problem. We're so focused on surviving that we've forgotten what made us thrive. Tesla wasn't built just on good products. It was built on the belief that we could do something the world hadn't even imagined yet. And somewhere along the way, that belief got lost. Sarah looked at Elon, her eyes thoughtful. What do you propose we do? How do we fix this? Elon took a deep breath. He had been thinking about this for days, weighing his options, knowing that the solution wouldn't be simple. But he also knew that the only way forward was to reignite the passion and the purpose that had fueled Tesla's early days. We need to go back to basics, he said, his voice gaining strength. We need to stop pretending that we're just a car company or an energy company. We're a company built on ideas that change the world. We need to create an environment where innovation is at the forefront, where employees feel that their work matters, not just because it helps the bottom line, but because it contributes to something bigger. Mark raised an eyebrow. And how do you suggest we do that? We start by listening, Elon replied. I'm going to ask each of you to go out and talk to the people on the ground, your teams, the engineers, the designers. Ask them what they're passionate about, what they believe in. And then, we make sure that we're not just hearing them. We're acting on what they tell us. We need to empower people again. Jake crossed his arms, looking skeptical. You think that's going to fix everything? Just talking to people and listening to them? Elon nodded. It's a start. The problem isn't just that we're not innovating. It's that we've become disconnected from the people who are actually doing the work. We've created layers of bureaucracy that stifle creativity. People are burnt out because they feel like they're just cogs in a machine. We need to give them purpose again. There was a long pause as everyone processed what Elon had said. Finally, Mark broke the silence. You're right. We've been so focused on results that we've forgotten the most important part, the people. If we don't change how we're working together, nothing else will matter. Elon smiled, feeling a spark of hope. This wasn't going to be easy. In fact, it was going to be incredibly hard. But this meeting marked the first step towards something bigger, something better. We need to take responsibility for the culture we've created, Elon continued. We've become so consumed with success that we've forgotten that success isn't just about numbers. It's about people. If we don't fix the internal culture, we're not going to be able to fix anything else. And that's why I'm asking you, as the leadership team, to commit to this change. Not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's the only way Tesla is going to survive. There was a moment of quiet reflection as each of the executives took in what Elon had said. Then, one by one, they nodded. We're in, Mark said, his voice firm. We'll start talking to the teams. We'll find out what's really going on, and we'll start making changes. We're with you, David. Jake and Sarah nodded as well, their expressions serious. We'll do whatever it takes, Jake said. Elon felt a weight lift off his shoulders. This was only the beginning, but it was a start. The road ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges and setbacks. But for the first time since he'd joined Tesla Undercover, he felt a glimmer of hope. Tesla wasn't lost yet. It just needed to remember who it was and why it existed. The next morning, Elon received a call from Sarah. She was upbeat, her voice filled with energy. David, you're not going to believe this, she said. We started meeting with the teams this morning, really meeting with them, not just the standard reviews, and the response has been incredible. People are hungry for change. They're tired of the old way of doing things, but they're also excited to be heard. Elon felt a surge of hope. That's fantastic, Sarah. What's the next step? We're going to meet again tomorrow. We've got a long list of suggestions and ideas from the teams. But here's the thing. It's not just about ideas. It's about action. We need to make sure that this time, we actually follow through. Elon smiled. That's the hard part, isn't it? But we can do it. We have to. As he hung up the phone, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road to recovery would be long, but it was possible. And it started with one thing, belief. It was early in the morning when Elon, under his David Hunter alias, walked into the headquarters of Tesla's Fremont factory. The sun was still low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow on the massive building. Inside, engineers, designers, and assembly workers were already at their stations, busy with their tasks. There was a hum in the air, the buzz of a place that used to be a symbol of innovation, a beacon for those who wanted to change the world. Elon observed everything with a new set of eyes. The workers seemed to be focused, but something was missing. The excitement, the drive, the the sense of shared mission that once defined Tesla. Where had it gone? As he walked through the corridors, he passed the engineering teams hard at work on the latest prototypes, and it struck him. They were no longer working with that same fire that had once been a hallmark of the company. They were efficient, yes, but they were disconnected from the big picture. They were working for a paycheck, not for a revolution. This was what he had feared. He pulled out his phone and checked the calendar for the meeting with the leadership team later that day. This time, things had to move faster. They couldn't just talk about change anymore. They had to make it happen. But first, he needed to hear more from the people on the ground. The real ones. The ones who had the passion but had lost their way. By noon, Elon had set up a meeting with a small group of Tesla employees. This group wasn't made up of high-level managers or even department heads. These were the people who built the cars, the ones on the factory floor, in the design rooms, the engineers who, once upon a time, were the driving force behind every breakthrough. As the group filed into the conference room, Elon greeted them with a warm smile, though he could feel the weight of the moment. There was a level of nervousness in the air. They had no idea what to expect. "Thanks for meeting with me, everyone," Elon said, his voice low but confident. "I've been here for a little while now, working undercover, and I wanted to get a sense of what's really going on at the ground level. No holds barred. Just be honest with me. What do you think is wrong with Tesla right now?" A moment of silence followed as everyone exchanged looks. Finally, it was Sarah, an experienced engineer from the assembly line, who spoke up. I think we've lost our sense of purpose," Sarah said, her voice steady but full of frustration. "When we first joined, we all believed in what we were doing. We were changing the world. But now, it's like we're just making cars to meet a quota. Every day feels like we're racing against the clock, not working towards something bigger. We're losing our passion. And when you lose passion, you lose everything." Elon nodded slowly. He had feared that this would be the case. It wasn't just a few disgruntled employees here and there. It was widespread. The soul of Tesla had been drained out by the machine it had become. John, a software engineer who had been with Tesla since the early days, added, "I agree with Sarah. We're all working hard, don't get me wrong, but we're not working with the same drive we had in the beginning. And I think that's because we've become obsessed with hitting numbers, quarterly reports, production targets, stock prices. It's like we're measuring success with the wrong metrics." Elon took a deep breath. This was exactly what Lucas had told him. This was exactly the problem. Tesla had become too obsessed with external validation. The sense of innovation, the raw ambition that had once driven everyone, had been replaced with a cold, corporate focus on results. The people on the ground were no longer motivated by a dream. They were motivated by the need to keep their jobs. "You're right," Elon said softly, "but I'm here because I want to change that. I want us to get back to what made Tesla great in the first place. We need to reignite that sense of purpose, the mission, the reason we all came here." Sarah's eyes widened slightly, her curiosity piqued. "You think that's possible? After everything that's happened?" Elon smiled. "I do, but it won't be easy. It'll take all of us, starting from the ground up, to make it happen." The room was quiet for a moment, and then one by one, the team began to speak up. They shared their thoughts on how the company had changed, how they felt the disconnect between leadership and the people who did the real work. There was a shared sense of frustration, but also a sense of hope. These were people who still believed in Tesla. They hadn't given up, they just needed someone to lead them back to the vision they once had. As the meeting wrapped up, Elon felt a sense of purpose settling into him. The truth was clear. It wasn't just the leadership that needed to change. It was the entire company. It was a cultural shift that had to start at the top, but it would only be sustainable if it permeated throughout every level of Tesla. The passion had to be reignited in every employee, from the assembly line workers to the engineers to the executives in the boardroom. Elon thanked the team for their honesty and insights. He made a mental note to meet with even more employees in the coming days. But for now, he had a plan. A plan to take everything he had learned so far and turn it into actionable change. By the time Elon met with the executive team later that afternoon, he had a clear vision. The team was gathered around the conference table, and as soon as the door closed behind him, Elon wasted no time. "I've spoken to the ground-level teams," he began. his voice firm and resolute. And it's exactly what we've been hearing. People feel disconnected from the mission. They're working hard, but they're not inspired. They're burnt out, and they've lost sight of why they came to Tesla in the first place. And that's on us. That's on leadership. There was a long pause. Mark spoke first. So, what are you suggesting, David? We need to stop thinking of Tesla as just a company, Elon replied, his tone calm but passionate. We need to remind people why they joined Tesla in the first place, to change the world. We need to make sure that every person in this company knows that what they're doing matters. We can't just focus on hitting numbers. We need to focus on changing the game, on innovation, on the mission. Jake, who had been quiet up until now, spoke slowly. It sounds like you're asking us to refocus, to go back to what we were doing at the beginning. That's exactly what I'm asking, Elon said. But we need to do it differently this time. We need to listen more. We need to involve the employees more. If we don't, this company will continue to spiral. The room was quiet as the executives processed this. Slowly, one by one, they nodded. "We're in," Mark said, his voice steady. "Let's do it." In the days that followed, Elon and the executive team began putting their plan into action. They held town hall meetings, smaller focus groups with employees at every level, and began introducing new initiatives aimed at reigniting the passion that had once made Tesla the world-changing company it was. Elon's idea was simple but powerful. Focus on the mission. Reconnect with the dream. Tesla wasn't just building electric cars or renewable energy solutions. They were building a sustainable future, a world where innovation could change everything. The first few steps were small, but they made a difference. The town halls were filled with employees eager to share their ideas, their frustrations, and their hopes for Tesla's future. The leadership team began to truly listen and, in turn, started to make decisions that prioritized people over profits. They weren't just looking for quick fixes, they were looking for long-term change. And in those small moments, the spark started to return. The days following Elon's meetings with the ground-level employees were a blur of action. He and the leadership team had made it clear. The era of detached management was over. Now, it was about bringing the soul back to Tesla. And that meant doing things differently. Real change was in the air, but as anyone who had worked at Tesla for any length of time knew, change didn't come easily. As Elon sat in his office, reviewing notes from his recent discussions with employees, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah, one of the engineers who had been instrumental in the initial discussions. "David, you're not going to believe what just happened. We've had a breakthrough. A real one." Elon's heart skipped a beat. In a company like Tesla, breakthroughs weren't just about new tech or features. They were about culture, too. He quickly dialed Sarah's number. "What's going on?" Elon asked, his voice full of curiosity. "We've been looking into some of the supply chain issues that were really slowing us down. It's something that a lot of people have been brushing off. But we've had an idea. A completely new way to source some of the rare minerals we need for the batteries. It could lower costs and increase production speed." Elon's pulse quickened. "That's amazing, Sarah. But how did you get to this point?" "It came out of the town hall discussions. People started talking about the bottlenecks we're facing, and suddenly, one of the junior engineers, had an idea that hadn't been considered before. We realized that we weren't thinking about the problem from the right angle. We were stuck in the same old way of doing things." A surge of pride rushed through Elon. This was the very kind of creativity Tesla had once been known for, the kind of out-of-the-box thinking that had put them ahead of the competition. But this time, it wasn't just coming from the senior leadership. It was coming from the people who had felt unheard for so long. "This is exactly the kind of thing we need," Elon said, feeling the weight of the moment. "Get the team together. I'll be there in 30 minutes. When Elon arrived at the engineering floor, the energy was palpable. Teams were clustered around whiteboards, deep in conversation. Sarah stood by one of the groups, explaining the new concept to a team of engineers who were scribbling formulas and drawing diagrams. Elon could see the excitement in their eyes, a feeling he hadn't seen in a long time. "This is the future of Tesla," Elon said, stepping forward. "Innovation isn't just about pushing the boundaries of technology. It's about breaking out of old patterns and seeing things from a different perspective. What you're doing here is exactly what we need." The engineers looked up at him, smiling. The validation from their CEO, even under the guise of his undercover persona, was enough to fuel their enthusiasm even further. David, we're all in on this, Sarah said. We're going to need some resources to prototype this, but I think we're onto something huge. Elon nodded, feeling a flicker of excitement. Anything you need, just let me know. I'm behind this 100%. He felt a rare spark of hope. This wasn't just about addressing the company's issues. It was about rediscovering the drive and vision that Tesla had once been built on. The idea that anyone, no matter their position, could be a part of the solution was something that had been lost in the rush for profits. But now, it was front and center again. This was the Tesla he remembered, the one that thrived on collaboration and bold ideas. As the weeks went on, Elon's push for cultural change began to take hold. There was a shift in the way people worked. Meetings became more open, more collaborative. Engineers and designers were encouraged to share their ideas freely, no matter how unconventional. In the past, Tesla's leaders had sometimes been known for their top-down approach, but now, Elon was emphasizing transparency and openness. Every department was encouraged to experiment, to innovate, to fail if necessary, and to always return to the core purpose of the company. At the same time, the leadership team began to take their role as stewards of Tesla's culture more seriously. Mark, the head of operations, had already made significant changes in the supply chain, while Jake, the product lead, had begun to push for more bold designs in their upcoming models, encouraging the teams to take risks. But it wasn't just about new products or efficiency gains. Elon had implemented open-door office hours, where anyone in the company could speak with a leader unfiltered. The intention wasn't just to have feedback sessions. It was about fostering a sense of ownership and accountability at every level of Tesla. I don't want to hear just what we're doing right, Elon told the leadership team during one of their meetings. I want to hear about the mistakes we're making. What are we missing? What are we not seeing? The more transparent we are, the faster we'll grow. Jake raised an eyebrow. You want us to be that open? Yes, Elon replied. If we don't know what's wrong, how can we fix it? We need to show the entire company that we are all in this together, and that starts with us. The leadership team was initially hesitant, but over time, they saw the power in it. Employees started showing up at open-door hours, eager to share their ideas and concerns. The leadership team had a front-row seat to the problems, but also the solutions. It was no longer about solving problems in isolation. It was about collaborating with everyone at Tesla to find the way forward. The real test came when a critical deadline approached. Tesla had promised a major production milestone, a new model that would push their manufacturing capabilities to the limit. It was ambitious, but if anyone could do it, it was Tesla. However, the project had become a symbol of the company's internal struggles. It was supposed to be a symbol of the company's comeback, a bold statement that would reassert Tesla as the leader in innovation. But there was a growing sense of concern. Production schedules were slipping, suppliers were backlogged, and engineers were working around the clock to meet the target. One afternoon, Elon received an urgent call from Sarah. David, we've hit a major issue, she said, her voice tight. One of the key components we need for the car isn't coming through on time. If we don't get it in the next few days, we'll miss the deadline. Elon felt a knot form in his stomach. They were at the point of no return. But he also knew this was exactly the kind of situation that could either break them or prove they were truly back on track. I'll be there in 30 minutes, he said, determination settling into his voice. Let's figure this out. When Elon arrived at the factory floor, he was greeted by Sarah and the engineering team. The room was tense, the weight of the situation evident on everyone's faces. Elon, we've got two options, Sarah said, running her fingers through her hair in frustration. We can either delay the launch or try to figure out a workaround that will require a major redesign. Both options are risky. Elon took a moment to think. This wasn't just about the production timeline. This was about showing the world that Tesla wasn't just a company that talked about change, it was a company that acted on it. He knew that this could be the moment that defined their comeback. We're not backing down, Elon said decisively. We're going to make this work. Let's go back to the engineers and brainstorm. No idea is too crazy. We'll fix this together. As the team gathered around, Elon encouraged open, out-of-the-box thinking. For the next few hours, they hashed out a new design that would allow them to move forward without compromising on the quality of the product. It wasn't easy, but everyone was invested. No one was a bystander. By the end of the day, they had a solution. They had a plan. Elon walked through the Tesla factory floor early the next morning, the scent of oil and metal filling the air as the hum of machines echoed around him. The pressure was mounting. The deadline for the new model was fast approaching, and though the team had come up with a workaround, there were still countless moving parts that needed to fall into place. Every engineer, designer, and worker had been pushed to their limits, but they had pulled together. There was a new sense of energy in the air, something he hadn't seen in a long time. But it wasn't enough. Elon could feel the tension. The critical component issue hadn't been fully resolved. It was only delayed. Their solution had bought them time, but they couldn't afford another setback. Not now. As Elon moved from station to station, he saw Sarah and her team bent over their desks, furiously making calculations and adjusting designs. The usual sense of optimism had returned, but the weight of the looming deadline was like a cloud hovering above them. "Hey Sarah, how's it looking?" Elon asked, stepping up behind her desk. Sarah glanced up, her face pale but determined. "It's moving, David. We're on track, just barely. But we've hit another snag. We're running out of materials for the battery cells. If the supplier doesn't deliver in the next 48 hours, we can't proceed." Elon's stomach churned. Another bottleneck. Another obstacle. "Have you spoken with the supplier?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm, though his mind was already racing. "We've called them multiple times. They're blaming a logistics issue. They're promising to deliver the order, but if they don't, we're stuck." "Okay," Elon said, clenching his fists. "Let's get on the phone with them. I'll take care of it." As Elon dialed the supplier, his mind flashed back to the old days at Tesla, before the company had grown too large, before the obstacles seemed insurmountable. Back then, he was used to operating under extreme pressure, dealing with tight timelines and unrelenting obstacles. He was no stranger to crisis, but the stakes had never been higher. "Hello, this is David Hunter with Tesla," he said as the call connected. "I'm reaching out regarding the delivery of our battery cells. We were promised delivery within 48 hours, but as of now, we've received nothing. Can you provide me with an update?" On the other end, the voice of the supplier sounded frazzled. "Mr. Hunter, we understand the urgency, but there's been a major disruption in our warehouse. We're doing everything we can to resolve it, but we can't guarantee delivery until next week." Elon felt his frustration building, but he kept his voice steady. "This isn't acceptable. We've been waiting for these materials for weeks. If you can't fulfill the order within the next 48 hours, we will have to take our business elsewhere." There was a long pause on the other end. Then the supplier's voice returned, softer but urgent. "Mr. Hunter, I understand the pressure. I'll get this expedited. You'll have your shipment in time. I'll personally oversee it." Elon let out a slow breath. "Good. I expect confirmation in writing. Don't let me down." As he hung up the phone, he knew this wasn't the last obstacle they would face. If anything, the pressure was only going to increase. The pressure to succeed, to meet the deadline, to lead Tesla back to the top. While dealing with the crisis on the factory floor, Elon still had to deal with another pressing issue. Later that evening, the leadership team would be gathering for a critical meeting. It would be the first time since his undercover investigation that he would reveal to the executives the extent of what he had learned and the changes that needed to be made at the corporate level. Elon couldn't afford to hold anything back. The team needed to understand just how deep the disconnect had gone, how far off course Tesla had strayed from its original mission. It wasn't just about fixing products or hitting financial targets. It was about rediscovering what had once made Tesla the icon it was. As he sat down with the leadership team that evening, he could feel the weight of what he was about to say. It wasn't just a critique, it was a wake-up call. "All right, everyone," Elon said as the meeting room settled into silence. "I've been undercover for the past few weeks. I've spoken to employees at every level, engineers, designers, assembly workers. And I have some hard truths to share." The room grew quiet. Eyes widened. They hadn't expected him to say this, to go public with his findings. But Elon knew it had to be done. "The people in this company, our employees, they've lost faith in us. They've lost faith in the mission, and it's our fault. We've been too focused on hitting numbers, too obsessed with short-term results. We've forgotten why we're here, to change the world. There was a palpable shift in the room as his words sank in. We have to do better, Elon continued. We need to rediscover the passion that built this company. We need to lead by example. From now on, it's not just about profits or hitting quarterly targets. It's about giving our people a sense of purpose, about inspiring them again. If we can't do that, we will lose everything. Jake, the head of product, spoke up. You're right, David. We've been so focused on keeping Tesla afloat financially that we've neglected the culture. It's been a distraction. I get that, Elon said. But we need a strategy to turn this around. We need to involve the employees more, show them we're listening. That means taking risks, bold, calculated risks, not just sticking to the same old ways of doing things. Mark, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. So what's our first step? First, Elon said, we need to realign our goals. We need to ensure every team understands that the work they're doing isn't just for a paycheck. It's for the future of humanity. It's for the planet. If we lose that focus, we lose everything. The leadership team sat in contemplative silence, each person absorbing what Elon had just said. We need a shift in how we approach leadership, Elon continued. This needs to start with us. We need to be open, transparent, and accessible. We need to show the team that we're committed to making real change. If we want Tesla to be great again, we have to make them believe again. That starts now. As the meeting concluded, there was a sense of quiet determination in the room. It wasn't going to be easy, but Elon could sense that the leadership team was finally on the same page. They understood the enormity of the challenge ahead, and they were ready to take it on. But Elon knew that leading the company out of this crisis was only the first step. The real work, the long-term rebuilding of Tesla's culture and innovation, was just beginning. It was going to require a shift in every aspect of the company, from the boardroom to the factory floor. And if they were going to make it through this, it would take every ounce of passion, dedication, and ingenuity they had. He couldn't help but feel a growing sense of hope. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, he felt like Tesla had a chance to rediscover its soul. The crisis with the battery components was resolved just in time. The supplier had come through, albeit under the wire, and Tesla was able to keep its production schedule on track. But while the immediate threat had passed, Elon knew that this was only a temporary reprieve. The real test was whether the changes he had started to instill in Tesla's culture would hold up when the pressure mounted again, and it would. He wasn't naive enough to think that a few conversations and a shift in leadership philosophy would be enough to transform the company overnight. It was now the beginning of a new chapter for Tesla, and Elon had to keep his foot on the accelerator. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The model was nearing completion, and despite the earlier setbacks, the production team had managed to maintain momentum. Elon could see the energy was different. There was a renewed sense of purpose among the employees. But even with this change, he knew it wasn't enough. It wasn't just about fixing production issues. Tesla had to do more than survive. It had to thrive again. Elon decided it was time to take a bold step, one that would solidify the new direction Tesla was taking. That afternoon, Elon called an all-hands meeting. The last time Tesla had done something on this scale, it had been to announce their new vision for sustainable energy. This meeting would be different. This time, Elon wasn't going to just talk about goals or strategies. He was going to address something even more fundamental: trust. Elon stood at the front of the auditorium, looking out over the sea of faces in the audience. For the first time in years, he could see the pride in their eyes, the same pride that had fueled Tesla's rise from the start. But there was also a cautious optimism, as if everyone was waiting to see if this time would be different. "I've been here for almost 2 decades, Elon began, his voice clear and steady. When I founded Tesla, it was built on one core idea: to make the world a better place through sustainable energy. That mission has never changed. But somewhere along the way, we got distracted. We focused too much on profits, too much on the short term, and we lost sight of the bigger picture." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle in the room. "We've been in a slump for too long. The company became something it wasn't meant to be. But I'm telling you right now, We are going to fix that. We are going to return to the vision that started it all. The vision of revolutionizing the way the world uses energy, of proving that clean energy can be the future, not a luxury. And that doesn't just start with the technology. It starts with all of you. The crowd was silent. Elon could feel the tension, but also a spark. They were listening. I know some of you may not believe this yet. I've lost some of your trust. But I'm asking you to believe again, Elon continued. We need to build a company that's about more than just products or profits. We need to build a company that is a force for change. And that starts with you, every one of you. Elon paused, scanning the room. We've already made progress. I've seen it in the ideas that are coming from every level of the company, from the factory floor to the design teams. But this is just the beginning. If we want to lead the world into a sustainable future, we have to be the company that proves it's possible. And we can't do that if we're not all on the same page. As he spoke, Elon's words resonated with the room. They'd seen the difficulties, the setbacks, and the frustrations. But now, they were hearing something different, a call to action, a call to remember why they came to Tesla in the first place. And that means we're not just going to be a company that makes electric cars, Elon concluded. We're going to change the way the world uses energy. We're going to take risks. We're going to innovate. And most importantly, we're going to do it together. I'm asking for your trust. I'm asking for your commitment. Because if we all push forward with the same vision, there's nothing we can't do. The room was still silent for a moment after Elon finished speaking. The employees were absorbing his words, their minds processing the gravity of the moment. Then, almost as if on cue, there was a ripple of applause. Slow at first, hesitant, but then growing in intensity. Elon didn't need to hear more. He knew the trust wouldn't be earned in a single speech, but this was a start. As the meeting concluded, Elon felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had made the first step in reclaiming the company's soul, but there was still much to do. Trust was fragile, and words were easy. Now, he would have to prove that the new Tesla was more than just talk. The next few days were filled with optimism and action. Employees were excited again, energized by the meeting and the new direction. But just as Elon thought they were gaining momentum, a new crisis emerged. Tesla was facing increasing pressure from investors. The stock had been volatile in recent months, and some of the larger stakeholders were beginning to express doubts about Elon's ability to steer the company back to profitability. This wasn't unexpected. Whenever a company faces turbulence, the financial world takes notice. But what was concerning was the speed at which some investors were starting to voice their concerns. Elon knew that if Tesla's stock price continued to slide, it could jeopardize everything: the innovations, the new vision, and the very future of the company. One evening, Elon sat down with the leadership team to discuss the growing pressure from investors. He knew it was time to address this head-on. We can't afford to lose ground, Elon said, his voice steady but serious. We've turned a corner with the company culture, but if we don't show growth soon, we could lose it all. The next quarter will be critical. Mark, the head of operations, spoke up first. We've been making progress, but it's been slow. We need to focus on delivering on our promises, products, timelines, all of it. Jake, the head of product, nodded. And we need to start talking about the next generation of vehicles. Investors want to see the roadmap, and they're not patient. Elon thought for a moment. I know, but we can't sacrifice quality for speed. If we push too hard to meet short-term targets, we risk losing what makes Tesla Tesla: the mission, the vision, the passion behind our products. I agree, Sarah, the lead engineer, chimed in, but we also can't afford to ignore the market. We need to show that we're moving forward. Elon looked around the room at the leadership team. They were all aligned in their commitment to the new vision, but there was still a tension in the air. The financial pressures were mounting, and they all knew that balancing innovation with profitability would be their greatest challenge. We need a plan, Elon said finally, his voice firm. A plan that balances long-term innovation with short-term results. We're going to prove to the investors that we're not just a company that's trying to survive. We're a company that's ready to lead. The pressure on Elon and his leadership team was mounting. The optimism sparked by their internal rally was quickly tempered by the cold, hard reality of the stock market and investor expectations. Tesla was caught in a delicate balancing act. They had to maintain the momentum of their culture shift, keep pushing forward with innovation, and simultaneously deliver the financial performance that investors demanded. It was a race against time, and the clock was ticking louder by the day. The first signs of friction appeared in a board meeting that morning. Tesla's major stakeholders, the very people who had once championed Elon's vision, were growing increasingly restless. The room was thick with anticipation as Elon walked in, his usual calm demeanor masking the tension he felt inside. He had to hold his ground, not just for the company, but for the employees who had put their trust in him. The boardroom was a stark contrast to the open, collaborative space on the factory floor. The long table was polished, and the faces of Tesla's top investors were serious, their expressions betraying the pressure they were feeling. "We need to talk about the numbers, Elon," started Robert Chong, one of Tesla's biggest institutional investors. He was direct, no nonsense, and had been with the company for a long time. "The stock has been volatile, and we're not seeing the kind of returns we need. The market is getting jittery. We need assurances." Elon met Robert's gaze. He had been expecting this. He had been working on a plan, but now was the time to unveil it. "I understand the concerns, Robert," Elon said, his voice steady but with an edge of resolve. "We're working on a plan to meet these challenges. But it's important to remember that Tesla's long-term potential is what will drive the real value. Short-term profits, while important, can't be the sole measure of our success." The room was quiet for a moment as the board members exchanged glances. Then, Emma Clark, the CFO, spoke up. "Elon, with all due respect, we've heard this before. We've heard about long-term potential and vision, but what we need now is concrete action. We're at a critical juncture. If we don't see significant growth in the next quarter, we could lose investor confidence, and we can't afford that. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?" Elon leaned forward, steeling himself. "I get it. I know the stakes. But we're not going to rush our innovation. We have a product pipeline that will set Tesla up for the future, and I'm confident in our ability to deliver. We're going to accelerate our roadmap, but we're not going to compromise on quality." A few board members exchanged doubtful looks. Elon had known that convincing them wouldn't be easy. They wanted numbers, they wanted results, and they wanted them fast. But he also knew that if Tesla compromised its mission now, it could undermine everything they had built. "I've been in the trenches with our engineers and factory teams. I've seen the passion. I've seen the results," Elon continued. "We're not just building cars, we're building a movement. That's the long-term value Tesla can provide. But for now, I'll make sure we're on track with our next product launch, and I'll personally oversee the acceleration of production." The room remained tense, but slowly, the investors seemed to soften. They didn't fully buy into the vision, at least not yet, but they knew better than to underestimate Elon Musk. As the board meeting ended, Elon felt a mix of relief and urgency. The stakes had never been higher, and he was walking a fine line. The next step was clear. Tesla needed to show real progress. That meant pushing the new model out the door, and fast. Elon turned to his leadership team, who had been anxiously waiting outside the boardroom. He could tell from their expressions that they were feeling the heat as well. "We've got work to do," Elon said. "I need everyone on their A game. The next quarter is critical. If we don't hit our targets, it won't matter how good our vision is. Investors need results." Sarah, the lead engineer, stepped forward. "We're already ramping up production for the new model, but we need a few more resources to meet the targets. We're pushing as hard as we can, but we can't afford any more delays." Elon nodded. "Get the resources you need. I'll make sure the funding's there. We're going to hit that deadline. I'll also talk to the factory team. This can't be a one-person job." Mark, the head of operations, added, "We're getting the parts in, but we might need to prioritize some shipments to avoid any holdups." "We'll do whatever it takes," Elon replied. "The world's watching us, and we're not going to let them down." That night, Elon found himself back in the factory, walking through the same rows of assembly lines that he had walked through during his undercover investigation. The difference now was palpable. The energy was renewed. The team had bought into the vision, and Elon could feel it. They were moving at a pace that was nothing short of extraordinary. Engineers were collaborating more effectively, workers were offering solutions before problems even arose, and there was a sense of pride in the air that hadn't been there for a long time. But even as the factory buzzed with activity, Elon knew they were still in a race against time. The deadline for the new model was fast approaching, and there was still a mountain of work to be done. As he walked past the workstations, he spotted Dave, one of the assembly line supervisors, overseeing a team of workers installing the final components into one of the vehicles. Elon stepped up to him. "How's it going?" Elon asked. Dave glanced up, wiping his hands on his coveralls. "We're moving fast. The team's putting in everything we've got. The new design is really coming together. But we're going to need another couple of days to make sure everything's perfect." Elon nodded. "I'll make sure you get everything you need. But remember, we're not sacrificing quality here. Get it right. I'd rather have a slight delay than put out a product that isn't up to standard." Dave smiled. "You got it, Elon. We'll get it done." Despite the hard work and determination, the pressure was beginning to wear on everyone. The workforce was operating at full capacity, and even the most optimistic of Tesla's engineers were feeling the strain. But the new energy Elon had worked so hard to cultivate was still there. It hadn't burned out, even in the face of the looming deadline. In the middle of it all, Elon began to feel a shift within himself as well. The challenges were enormous, and the stakes had never been higher. But there was something different this time. It wasn't just about the technology. It wasn't just about the stock price. It was about Tesla's place in the world. Elon was reminded of the reason he had founded the company all those years ago: to change the world, to make the world a better place through sustainable energy. He wasn't going to back down now, not when Tesla had come so far. Tesla was on the brink. The clock was ticking down to the most critical quarter in the company's history. Investors were getting antsy, the media was waiting for any sign of weakness, and every day felt like a race against time. Despite the internal energy and the progress they had made, Elon knew that Tesla's reputation and his leadership were hanging in the balance. There was no room for failure. It was a sleepless night for Elon. As he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind raced through the millions of thoughts, challenges, and problems demanding his attention. The product rollout was a week away, and the pressure was growing exponentially. The factory was working overtime, but there were still concerns. Small parts missing, production lines slowing down, glitches in the software for the new model. Everyone was working at full capacity, but time was running out. Despite the optimism he'd seen on the factory floor, Elon couldn't help but feel a twinge of doubt. Could they really pull this off? Was the plan going to come together in time? Or was he pushing his team too hard? He turned over and checked his phone. Another email from Robert Chong. Another inquiry about production schedules and milestones. The emails were always framed politely, but there was an unmistakable undercurrent of impatience. The weight of responsibility felt heavier than ever. The next morning, Elon met with his leadership team in a makeshift war room at Tesla's headquarters. There were charts, schedules, and graphs all over the walls, marking every milestone they needed to hit. Time was their most precious resource, and every second counted. "We're coming up on the deadline for the model," Elon said, standing in front of the team. "We've made great strides, but I need to know, are we on track?" Sarah, the lead engineer, spoke first. "We're close, but we've hit a few snags. Some of the software updates for the new model aren't performing as expected. The AI system isn't learning as fast as we hoped, and we've had a few minor issues with the battery management system." Elon's brow furrowed. He had expected issues. It was always part of the process. But the stakes were higher now. The team had no time for setbacks. "How much time do we need to get it right?" Elon asked. "We'll need at least another 72 hours to complete testing and debugging," Sarah replied. "And that's assuming we don't hit any more roadblocks." Elon nodded slowly. That was the worst news he could have gotten. 3 more days would push the timeline dangerously close to the investors' deadline. It could even mean missing their quarterly targets. "Okay," Elon said after a long pause. "Let's do this. We don't have a choice now. We'll make it work." With the clock ticking, the intensity inside Tesla's headquarters reached fever pitch. Elon spent days in the factory, working side by side with engineers, offering solutions, and pushing the team forward. It wasn't just about the technical details anymore. It was about creating a culture of urgency. Every department needed to move in unison. There was no room for miscommunication, no room for hesitation. The pressure was overwhelming for some. The stress started to show. In one meeting, an exhausted project manager had to step away, visibly shaken by the demands. But Elon wouldn't let that stop him. He knew that pushing harder, despite the strain, was the only option. He had to lead them through this moment. He visited the assembly lines, checking in on the workers who had been tirelessly putting the final touches on the new model. He stood at the side of Dave, the assembly line supervisor, who was overseeing the final stages of the new car's construction. "How's it looking?" Elon asked, his voice steady, but with an undercurrent of urgency. "We're almost there," Dave said, rubbing his hand through his hair. "The team's doing everything they can, but the clock's ticking. If we can't get these last pieces in place, we won't make the launch." Elon looked at the final prototype that was almost complete, sleek, innovative, and everything they had promised. The design was perfect. Now, they just needed to make sure everything worked. "We'll make it," Elon said, more to himself than to Dave. "We have to." The following day, a group of major investors came to Tesla's headquarters for a walkthrough of the factory. Elon had been preparing for this moment for weeks. They would see firsthand how much progress Tesla had made and how hard everyone had been working. But he also knew that this would be the moment where everything could change. If Tesla could pull off this demonstration, they could win back the confidence of the investors. If not, it could be the beginning of the end. The investors arrived in the morning, greeted by Elon and his leadership team. Robert Chang was among them, along with several other influential figures who had been growing impatient. The group moved through the factory, observing the progress on the new vehicle and meeting with the engineers and production staff. Elon led them through each stage of the process, showing them the new innovations and explaining the advancements in the battery technology, AI system, and autonomous driving capabilities. But despite the impressive technology and hard work, Elon knew that the investors weren't here just for a show. They were here to judge results. As they reached the final stage of the assembly line, the new model was brought out. It was a thing of beauty, sleek, modern, and powerful, a true testament to the innovation Tesla stood for. The investors were impressed, but Elon could sense that they were still unconvinced. They had heard the promises before, and now it was time for Tesla to deliver. "This is what we've been working for," Elon said, his voice firm, but not without the weight of everything that was on the line. "It's not just a car. It's a step toward a sustainable future. And this is only the beginning." The investors nodded, but the skepticism was still there. Robert Chang spoke up, his tone measured but with a clear sense of urgency. "This is impressive, Elon, but we need to see the numbers. We need to see how this model will impact our bottom line. We need to see that you can deliver the profits that this company needs." Elon didn't flinch. "We will deliver," he said. "It's coming. Trust me." As the investors left the factory, Elon was exhausted but determined. He knew that the next few days would be crucial in determining Tesla's future. The model was nearly ready, but there were still the final hurdles to clear. The software glitches, the production delays, and the ongoing pressure to meet financial targets. The night before the product launch, Elon sat in his office, reflecting on the road that had brought him here. It had been a long journey, full of highs and lows, triumphs and failures. But in that moment, he felt something that he hadn't felt in a long time: peace. He was no longer chasing the approval of investors or the media. Tesla's mission was bigger than that. He had to remind himself of why he started the company: to change the world. The success of Tesla, the future of sustainable energy, depended on him and on the incredible people who believed in the same mission. Tomorrow was the big day. The countdown to the launch had begun. The morning of the launch had arrived, and the tension was palpable in Tesla's headquarters. It was a quiet buzz in the air. Everyone knew that this day would determine the course of the company's future. The moment of truth was finally here. All of the work, sleepless nights, and sacrifices had led to this one pivotal event. Elon woke up early, as he always did before a big day. He didn't waste any time in front of the mirror. His mind was already racing through the to-do list. He glanced over his phone. A dozen messages from various departments, investor concerns, final tweaks on the presentation. But there was only one thing that truly mattered now: the launch of the new model. Tesla had to deliver, and it had to do so spectacularly. His team was already at the headquarters, working behind the scenes to get everything in place. The new model had been fine-tuned and rechecked 100 times over, but there was still a lingering sense of uncertainty. Could they hit their targets? Would the new vehicle meet expectations? And would it be enough to calm the nerves of Tesla's anxious investors? Elon arrived at the headquarters just after 6 a.m. and immediately went to check on the final details. The cars were lined up in the showroom, gleaming under the bright lights, ready for their moment in the spotlight. Sarah, the lead engineer, was standing by one of the prototypes, tweaking the dashboard. "We're good to go," Sarah said, wiping the sweat from her brow. "Everything's perfect. The software's been debugged, and the assembly line's ready for launch. We just need to make sure the press event goes off without a hitch." Elon gave her a quick nod of approval, his eyes scanning the room, as he checked on everything from the sound system to the lighting. This wasn't just a product launch, it was a statement. Tesla had to show the world that it wasn't just a car company. It was the future of sustainable transportation. Behind the scenes, the board members and major investors were trickling into the conference room, their faces a mix of anticipation and skepticism. Robert Chong, the ever-watchful investor, stood by the windows, talking to a group of analysts. His voice was low, but his expression revealed his concern. The last few days had been tense. While the prototype had looked impressive, the pressure was still there. Could this launch really be the game-changer Tesla needed? "I don't know, Robert," one of the analysts said. "They've been promising a lot, but we've seen a few hiccups along the way. The stock's been volatile, and there's still that concern about profitability. If they can't deliver today, we might be looking at a very different future for Tesla." Robert didn't answer immediately. He simply nodded, watching Elon as he moved from station to station, making final adjustments. There was a calm about Elon, an aura of certainty that was hard to ignore. But Robert wasn't ready to be sold on it just yet. Investors needed more than just passion. They needed proof. As Elon entered the conference room to greet the investors, the tension was thick. Everyone was watching him closely. Robert was the first to approach him. "Elon, I need to see some numbers today. The investors are asking for proof that this new model can change the financial trajectory of the company," Robert said, his tone firm but respectful. Elon smiled thinly, understanding the gravity of the moment. "You'll get your numbers, Robert. But we're not just selling cars here. We're selling a vision. I'll prove that today." As the launch event kicked off, the room filled with a diverse crowd: journalists, industry analysts, celebrity figures, and, of course, Tesla enthusiasts. The excitement was palpable, but it was tempered by the collective knowledge that this wasn't just a press event. It was the future of Tesla. Elon took the stage, wearing his signature black t-shirt and jeans, exuding his usual confidence. But there was a spark in his eyes today, a drive that came from knowing what was on the line. The world was watching. "Good morning, everyone," Elon began, his voice steady but charged with energy. "Today is a special day for Tesla. It's not just the launch of a new model. It's the start of something bigger. It's a leap toward sustainable energy, toward a world where electric vehicles are not only mainstream, but the norm. Today, we're taking one step closer to changing the way the world moves." He paused for a moment, letting the weight of his words sink in. "And I'm proud to say that what we're unveiling today is more than just a car. It's a statement that innovation, passion, and sustainability can coexist. It's the culmination of years of hard work and the beginning of a new chapter for Tesla and the world." The room erupted into applause. It wasn't just because of the words. It was because people believed him. The energy in the room shifted. The audience was hanging on his every word. "Elon," one of the journalists called out, "what makes this model different from everything else on the market?" Elon smiled, an expression that was part pride, part mystery. "This is not just a car. This is the future of transportation. With this new model, we've pushed the boundaries of battery efficiency, autonomous driving, and software integration. It's a machine built for the 21st century, for the world that's coming." not the world we live in now. And it's not just for the rich or the elite. This car is for everyone. With the press and investors hanging on his words, Elon signaled for the big reveal. Behind him, a large screen displayed the logo of the new vehicle. As the curtains pulled back, the crowd gasped in awe. The sleek, futuristic design of the car was on full display, a beauty of technology and style. It was a moment that felt almost cinematic, the culmination of everything Tesla had worked for. The car gleamed under the bright lights, its bold curves and cutting-edge features standing out as a symbol of innovation and progress. Elon walked over to the car, running his hand along its surface. "This is the Tesla Model Z," he announced. "A car that is built for the future. And with our new battery technology, it can travel over 600 miles on a single charge. It's faster, smarter, and more energy efficient than anything else on the market." The room erupted into applause. The press was already taking pictures, the investors looked impressed, and even the most skeptical members of the audience seemed captivated by the vision Elon was selling. But Elon wasn't done. He wanted to leave them with more than just a car. He wanted to leave them with a promise, a vision of the future. "Today is a turning point," he said, looking directly at the crowd. "It's not just about the car you see here. It's about the future of our planet. It's about the role Tesla will play in making this world sustainable, not in the next decade, but in the years to come." As the event wound down, the room buzzed with excitement. Investors, media, and industry figures gathered in small groups, whispering about the launch. Elon had pulled it off. The car was everything Tesla had promised, and more. However, there was still one thing that weighed heavily on his mind. Would this new model truly deliver on the financial side? Could Tesla's innovation translate into profits? The next few weeks would tell the story. But for now, Elon allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. He had done it. Tesla had done it. The future was looking brighter than ever. After the launch, the world's attention shifted to Tesla's ability to follow through on its bold promises. The Model Z was unveiled, and for a brief moment, the hype was enough to capture global headlines. But the true test was yet to come. Production, sales, and whether Tesla could deliver on the numbers that investors were waiting for. Elon knew that this wasn't just a celebration. It was the start of a race that would determine the company's survival. Elon spent the next few days with a single, overwhelming thought: execution. The product had been revealed, the speeches delivered, and the world's eyes were now on them. But all that excitement meant nothing if they couldn't scale up production quickly enough to meet demand. For the first time in a long while, he felt the pressure weigh down on him, not just as a visionary, but as the CEO of a company on the brink of greatness or failure. The day after the launch, he sat in a small meeting room with his core leadership team, the energy in the room electric but tinged with anxiety. "We've created something incredible," Elon said, his voice firm but with an undertone of concern. "But we can't afford to drop the ball now. We've got a product. Now we need to make sure we can get it into customers' hands." Sarah, the lead engineer, spoke first. "The supply chain is holding up so far, but I'm worried about ramping up production without sacrificing quality. We're getting a lot of pre-orders, but if we can't deliver them in the next few months, the hype will die down." Elon nodded. "I know. We can't afford to miss deadlines. This is our chance to prove we can scale." Robert Chong, one of Tesla's major investors, had been hovering around the office for days, making sure everything was in line. He walked into the room with a serious expression. "Elon, the investors are going to want results soon. The product launch was a huge success, but the market won't wait for us to catch up. You've promised that Model Z will be a game changer. Now you've got to show it." Elon met Robert's gaze. "We'll show them," he said quietly. "We're not just building cars. We're building a future." By the following week, the factory was in full swing. But the excitement that once filled the air had been replaced by an undercurrent of urgency. The assembly lines were running overtime, and everyone, from engineers to assembly workers, was working long hours to meet the demand. But the pressure was starting to show. Some parts were delayed due to supply chain issues, and the assembly team was having trouble keeping up with the pace. Elon's schedule was packed with meetings, but he couldn't stay away from the factory floor. He knew that he needed to lead by example. His presence was a reminder to everyone that their mission was bigger than just hitting production numbers. It was about changing the world. One afternoon, as the production line came to a halt due to an issue with the battery pack, Elon stood in front of the assembly line, his arms crossed as he studied the situation. "What happened?" he asked calmly. "We're having trouble with the battery packs," one of the engineers explained. "The connections aren't lining up properly, and it's slowing down production." Elon took a deep breath. "Okay, let's fix it. Get the team together, and let's troubleshoot. We can't afford to waste any more time." The team went to work immediately, and Elon stayed there, moving between engineers and supervisors, watching every detail closely. Hours later, they found the root cause, a minor but crucial flaw in the battery cell connectors. With that knowledge, the engineers were able to correct the issue, and the line moved forward. It was a small victory, but to Elon, it was a reminder that no challenge was insurmountable if they worked together. By the end of the week, the first round of deliveries began. The first few Models ES were shipped to eager customers, but Elon knew that the real test would come when the investor meeting arrived. The company had made promises, and now it was time to deliver on them. Tesla had invested heavily in marketing, but investors were looking for tangible numbers: profits, growth, market share. Elon prepared himself for another round of hard questions. Robert Chang and several other major investors were scheduled to join a call that afternoon to review the results of the first month post-launch. As usual, Robert's voice was measured but sharp. "Elon, we need numbers," Robert said, cutting straight to the point. "The launch was a hit, but now we need to know how many units are sold and when we can expect to see real returns. We've all seen the product, but can Tesla keep this momentum going?" Elon took a deep breath. The meeting had begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. "Here's the reality," Elon started, his voice unwavering. "We've sold over 10,000 units in the first week alone. Our production numbers are increasing, and we expect to ramp up to 50,000 units by the end of the quarter." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the call. Elon knew that those numbers would give the investors something to chew on, but it wasn't enough to relax them. They needed to hear more. "Those are good numbers, Elon," Robert said, his voice still steady, "but the key is profitability. Can you guarantee that we'll see returns soon? Can Tesla continue to grow at the pace you're promising?" Elon paused for a moment, his mind racing. He had always believed in the long-term vision, in the idea that Tesla would change the world. But now, more than ever, he had to make the case that they could turn a profit and grow without compromising their core values. "We're committed to profitability," Elon said, "but we're also committed to sustainable growth. We're not just building cars, we're building an ecosystem. The Model Z is just the beginning. The real opportunity lies in the autonomous vehicle market, in energy storage, and in the software that will power these vehicles. We have the technology, and we have the strategy to scale. But we have to do it right. We have to be patient." The call ended on a positive note, but the investors remained cautious. They had heard Elon's promises before, and while the numbers were encouraging, they were still hungry for proof that Tesla could keep up the momentum. Elon didn't blame them. He knew that trust had to be earned, and Tesla was still fighting to prove that it could turn its innovation into real, lasting success. After the call, Elon stepped outside for a few minutes of fresh air. He needed a moment to reflect. The launch was a success, but it was just the beginning of a long road ahead. There was still so much to do. The pressure was mounting, but Elon had learned to live with it. He couldn't afford to let doubt creep in now. There was too much at stake. As he looked out over the Tesla campus, the future seemed both uncertain and promising. It was the same feeling he'd had when he first launched the company, an exhilarating mix of excitement and fear. The world was watching, and every move Tesla made from here on out would be scrutinized. But Elon was ready. He had always believed in the power of innovation to change the world. Now, Tesla had to prove it. Tesla's future was hanging by a thread. The Model Z had generated significant buzz, but as the weeks passed, the road ahead grew increasingly treacherous. Investors were pressuring Elon to meet sales targets and prove that the company could generate sustainable profit, and employees were exhausted from the intense push to ramp up production. Elon knew that it was now or never. He had built Tesla on a foundation of innovation, but the company was facing an existential threat. Would the Model Z be enough to propel Tesla to new heights, or would it falter under the pressure? It had been a month since the Model Z's launch, and the numbers weren't as impressive as Elon had hoped. While pre-orders had been high, the pace of production was slower than expected. Tesla had delivered around 20,000 units, but not nearly enough to meet their quarterly goal of 50,000. Worse still, the stock had taken a hit. The market was nervous, investors were growing restless, and the once certain future of Tesla now felt more fragile than ever. Elon had spent sleepless nights in the Tesla office, pacing back and forth, trying to figure out how to turn things around. The pressure was mounting, not just from investors, but from his own team, who were growing weary of the unrelenting demands. It felt like a critical moment in the company's history, and Elon knew he had to act fast. In the early hours of the morning, as he sat in his office overlooking the quiet Tesla campus, his phone buzzed with a message. It was from Sarah, the lead engineer. The subject line was short and to the point: breakthrough. Elon's heart raced as he opened the message. The breakthrough wasn't some small tweak or improvement. It was a game changer. Sarah's team had just discovered a new way to dramatically improve battery efficiency, which would lower production costs and increase the range of the Model Z. It was the kind of innovation that could not only boost the car's appeal but also position Tesla as a leader in energy storage technology. For a moment, Elon allowed himself to smile. This was the kind of moment he had been waiting for, a chance to take Tesla to the next level, not just as a car company, but as an energy company. He immediately called Sarah. "Walk me through it," he said. "We've been working on improving the battery design for months," Sarah explained, her voice steady but clearly excited. "We've managed to increase the battery life by 25% without increasing the size or weight, which should dramatically extend the car's range. And the best part is that it also lowers the cost per unit. With this change, we'll be able to pass the savings on to customers while improving the overall performance of the Model Z." Elon felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the breakthrough they had been searching for. Not only would this increase the Model Z's range and lower costs, but it would also solidify Tesla's position as the undisputed leader in electric vehicle technology. "I want this ready for the next batch of deliveries," Elon said, his voice sharp with determination. "Let's move fast. Get the team on this." Sarah and her team worked around the clock to integrate the new battery technology into the next batch of Model Zs. Meanwhile, Elon knew that this innovation was more than just a product update. It was a marketing opportunity that couldn't be missed. Tesla needed to capitalize on the breakthrough in a way that would reignite the public's excitement and reassure investors. Elon made an impromptu decision to call a second press conference. It would be centered on the new battery technology, but he had a bigger vision in mind. Tesla wasn't just going to sell cars. It was going to sell the idea of a sustainable future, one where electric vehicles powered by clean, renewable energy were the norm, not the exception. The media was initially skeptical about another announcement so soon after the Model Z's launch, but when Elon revealed the new battery technology's impact, the mood quickly shifted. The improved range, lower costs, and efficiency gains were enough to get reporters buzzing again. "Tesla's not just making cars," Elon said during the press conference. "We're creating the future of energy. And today, we've taken a giant step forward." The press conference was a success, with Tesla's stock surging almost immediately. The announcement had sparked renewed faith in Tesla's vision, but the true test would be in the execution. The company would need to scale this new technology and integrate it into the vehicles quickly, or risk losing the momentum they just gained. As the days passed, the pressure to scale up production increased. The new battery technology needed to be manufactured at a much larger scale, and that meant ramping up both production capacity and supply chain logistics. Elon and his leadership team worked tirelessly to ensure that the company was positioned to deliver on the promise they had made to the public. But the true challenge wasn't just about meeting production goals. It was about ensuring that the new technology would hold up under real-world conditions. While the improvements had been tested in controlled environments, the team needed to see how the Model Z performed with the new battery on the road. Elon was adamant about not rushing the process. This had to be perfect. One afternoon, as he was reviewing the final pre-production models, Sarah walked in with some troubling news. "Elon, we've run into an issue," she said, her expression serious. The new batteries are performing great in simulations, but we've had a couple of failures in the real-world tests. It's nothing catastrophic, but we need a few more weeks to iron out the kinks. Elon exhaled sharply, frustration building. How long? We'll need at least 2 more weeks of testing before we can confidently roll them out. Elon's mind raced. The clock was ticking. He knew that Tesla couldn't afford any more delays, but he also knew that rushing could be a disaster. He made the difficult decision to delay the next batch of deliveries and fine-tune the battery. "We'll hold off," he said, his voice firm. "Get it right. No compromises. The last thing we need is a major failure once these cars are on the road." It was a tense 2 weeks, but when the new battery passed its final round of testing, Elon breathed a sigh of relief. They were ready to move forward. The new Model Z, with the breakthrough battery technology, would be ready for full-scale production. The next round of deliveries began, and the public reaction was overwhelming. Not only did the Model Z's performance exceed expectations, but the new battery technology created a buzz that was hard to ignore. Tesla was back on track. The stock price climbed, investor confidence was restored, and production lines were operating at full capacity. Even more importantly, Tesla's leadership in the electric vehicle market was now undeniable. The Model Z was no longer just a car. It was a symbol of innovation, a vision of a sustainable future that was within reach. For Elon, the breakthrough was a moment of validation. It wasn't just about the cars anymore. Tesla had created something that the world needed, something that could change the future of transportation, energy, and the environment. But he knew that the real journey was just beginning. Tesla was on the cusp of something far bigger than just a car company. Tesla's resurgence was nothing short of remarkable. With the breakthrough battery technology in the Model Z, the company had made a bold statement. Tesla was not just another electric vehicle manufacturer, it was the future. But as Elon Musk knew all too well, success always attracted competition. And this time, Tesla wasn't just facing small startups. It was about to go head-to-head with some of the most powerful players in the automotive industry. The race for electric dominance was on. As Tesla celebrated its success, 2 major automotive giants, the long-established Ford and a new tech-focused competitor called Arcadia Motors, were making moves that would challenge Tesla's position in the market. Ford, with its deep pockets and massive production capacity, had just announced the launch of the Fusion EV, a fully electric vehicle aimed at competing directly with the Model Z. Ford's marketing team had been hard at work crafting an aggressive campaign that promised consumers a more affordable and reliable electric option, using its reputation for mass production to entice potential buyers. Meanwhile, Arcadia Motors, a newer tech company, had surprised everyone by revealing a cutting-edge autonomous vehicle prototype that was almost identical in design to Tesla's own visionary model. An autonomous car Tesla had been planning to unveil in a few months. Arcadia's ability to leap ahead with AI and self-driving technology was a direct challenge to Tesla's leadership in that sector. The arrival of these competitors sent ripples of concern through Tesla's leadership team. Elon, ever the optimist, believed in the company's edge, but even he couldn't ignore the mounting pressure. The market was shifting fast, and Tesla would have to prove it could continue to innovate faster than anyone else. One morning, Elon called an emergency meeting at Tesla's headquarters. The topic: competition. He was tired of waiting for the inevitable. He wanted to confront it head-on. Sarah, Robert, and the key members of Tesla's leadership team gathered around the conference table, each with a look of concern. "Elon, I'm not sure we're ready for this," Robert said, looking at the reports. "Ford is pulling out all the stops. They have the resources to flood the market with vehicles at a lower price point than ours. And Arcadia? If their self-driving technology is as advanced as they say, they could take away our edge in autonomous vehicles." Elon leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Listen, we've been through worse. Every time Tesla faced doubt, we came out on top. This time, it's no different. The market has seen what we can do with the Model Z, and they'll see what we can do with the visionary model. We're not just selling cars, we're selling the future, and no one else can compete with that." Sarah, who had been listening carefully, added, "The Fusion EV may be cheaper, but Tesla's brand represents more than just a price tag. People want the experience. We've created a community of people who believe in the mission. And with the improvements we've made to the autonomous features, The visionary model will be ahead of everyone else in the self-driving race. Elon nodded, his resolve solidifying. That's right. We have the technology, the brand, and the vision. What we need now is to act fast. We need to focus on two things: mass production of the Model Z and accelerating the release of the visionary model. If we lead on both fronts, Ford and Arcadia will have no chance. Tesla's leadership team quickly got to work, doubling down on two key areas: production capacity and innovation. The challenge was clear. Tesla had to scale up faster than anyone else while maintaining its edge in technology. Elon personally oversaw the production shifts, pushing the team to maintain the quality of the Model Z while increasing output. At the same time, the visionary model, a fully autonomous electric vehicle, was fast-tracked into development. Tesla's engineers worked day and night, incorporating the latest AI technologies and pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Elon knew that to win in this market, Tesla had to leapfrog not just the competition, but their own past achievements. But it wasn't just about building cars. Tesla was expanding its reach into other markets, focusing on energy storage and solar power to build a comprehensive ecosystem. If they could deliver on all fronts, from vehicles to energy solutions, they would cement themselves as the leaders in the clean tech revolution. The pressure was enormous. Elon often found himself in the office late at night, staring at production schedules and development timelines, trying to anticipate every possible challenge. It felt like the stakes had never been higher. Meanwhile, Arcadia Motors was playing its hand carefully. They had already developed a self-driving car prototype that, while not perfect, showcased impressive capabilities. Their focus was clear. They were in this for the long haul, and they wanted to disrupt Tesla's leadership in autonomous driving. Elon had heard whispers about Arcadia's success, and his instincts told him that the company was a serious threat. He had always known that self-driving technology was the key to the future of automobiles, but Arcadia's rapid advancement made him uneasy. They were smart, innovative, and agile, qualities that Tesla could not afford to overlook. In a strategic move, Arcadia announced they would be offering their self-driving technology as a standalone platform, allowing other manufacturers to license it. This was a game-changer. If other car companies could use Arcadia's tech, Tesla could lose its advantage in the autonomous space, potentially even losing its edge in the electric vehicle market. Elon knew this was an existential threat. Tesla's response was swift. Elon knew that the key to winning in the autonomous space wasn't just about having the best technology. It was about having the smartest, most integrated system that could evolve in real time. Tesla was already using its massive data sets from its existing vehicles to improve its self-driving features, but it needed to step up its game. Elon called in his AI team. "We need to leap ahead of Arcadia," he said, his voice intense. "We're not just building a self-driving car, we're building a learning machine. Tesla cars should be able to drive themselves better than any human could, and they should get better with every mile. This is where we win." The engineers worked relentlessly, optimizing Tesla's AI algorithms and refining the hardware to ensure that the visionary model's self-driving technology would be second to none. They added advanced machine learning capabilities, making it so that every Tesla on the road could share data with the others, continuously improving the fleet's autonomous capabilities. By the time Arcadia's cars were ready for mass production, Tesla's AI system was years ahead. Elon knew that Tesla's competitive advantage wasn't just in building a car. It was in building a connected, intelligent network of vehicles. If they could perfect autonomous driving, they wouldn't just be leaders in electric vehicles. They would redefine the future of transportation itself. When Tesla revealed the visionary model to the public, the reception was electric. The media was abuzz with excitement about the car's autonomous capabilities and the integrated AI system that made it smarter with every drive. Tesla had, once again, reinvented the wheel, this time in ways that no competitor could touch. The visionary model wasn't just an electric car. It was an intelligent, self-learning machine that adapted to drivers' habits and optimized routes in real time. Tesla also introduced an updated version of its autopilot system that was capable of handling almost all driving tasks, even in complex traffic situations. With these advancements, Tesla had leapfrogged Arcadia's offering, leaving them scrambling to catch up. But Tesla's success wasn't just about the visionary model. The Model Z was still a major hit in the market, and the new battery technology was now standard in all Tesla vehicles, making the cars more affordable and efficient than ever before. The combination of cutting-edge electric vehicles, autonomous driving, and integrated energy solutions made Tesla an unstoppable force. Tesla's leadership in the electric vehicle market was undeniable. The Model Z continued to perform beyond expectations, and the visionary model's autonomous driving capabilities were turning heads across the globe. Elon Musk had delivered on his promise to push the boundaries of innovation, but the pressure was mounting in ways he hadn't anticipated. Behind the scenes, cracks were starting to form in the company's seemingly flawless machine. Internal conflicts, supply chain challenges, and mounting scrutiny from both regulators and investors created a new set of obstacles for Tesla. It was a typical hectic morning at Tesla's Palo Alto headquarters. Elon had just returned from a whirlwind trip to Europe, where he'd been meeting with government officials and potential investors, and his inbox was overflowing with urgent messages. As he sat down at his desk, his phone rang. It was Sarah, the head engineer who had led the breakthrough battery technology. "Elon," Sarah's voice crackled through the line. "We've hit a problem. There's been a significant issue with the new battery packs. Some of them are showing signs of overheating. It's not widespread, but enough that we need to pull back on production." Elon's stomach sank. The new battery technology had been a game-changer, allowing Tesla to improve both range and production efficiency. A setback like this would be catastrophic. "How bad is it?" he asked, already dreading the answer. "Not catastrophic, but it could be if we don't address it quickly. It's mostly affecting the higher performance models, the ones with the largest battery packs. We need to test the entire batch and see if it's isolated or systemic. I'll have more details in a few hours." Elon rubbed his temples. The timing couldn't have been worse. The visionary model was on track for its official release in just a few weeks, and the Model Z's momentum was key to maintaining Tesla's market share. A battery failure could set the company back months, if not longer. "Okay, get me a full report as soon as possible. We'll figure it out," Elon said, trying to sound calm, even though his mind was already racing. He hung up the phone and stared out the window, watching the early morning sun cast long shadows across the Tesla campus. The news about the battery issue spread quickly through Tesla's ranks. Employees who had been working tirelessly to scale up production suddenly found themselves scrambling to figure out what had gone wrong. The pressure on the engineering team was immense, but the toll on the rest of Tesla's staff was just as severe. The company had been growing at an exponential rate, and with that growth came challenges. At a company-wide meeting later that week, Elon addressed the staff. He stood in front of the crowded auditorium, his usual confidence somewhat tempered by the circumstances. "Team, we've encountered a challenge," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Some of our new batteries are overheating, and we need to address it. I know this is frustrating, but we're not going to back down. We've faced bigger obstacles before, and we've always come out stronger. Let's stay focused and fix this." As the meeting adjourned, the engineers and production workers dispersed, knowing the pressure was on. Meanwhile, Sarah and her team dove deep into the issue. They ran tests, analyzed the battery cells, and consulted with experts to identify what had caused the malfunction. After several days of investigation, they traced the issue back to a small flaw in the cooling system of the larger battery packs. It wasn't a design flaw per se, but rather a component that hadn't been optimized for the new battery chemistry. The discovery brought both relief and frustration. The problem was fixable, but the process would take time. More delays. More headaches. Elon knew that time was not on his side. The world was watching, and if Tesla faltered now, they risked losing the momentum they had fought so hard to build. As Tesla's engineers worked to solve the battery issue, the company's stock began to slide. Investors were nervous. They had seen Tesla's meteoric rise over the past few years, but now, with production delays and the threat of a quality control crisis, the confidence was starting to wane. One morning, as Elon was reviewing the latest stock performance reports, he received a call from a major investor, David Langford, a well-known venture capitalist with heavy stakes in Tesla. "Elon, we need to talk." David's voice was stern. "This is getting out of hand. Tesla was supposed to be the most reliable electric car company in the world, and now we're looking at delays, quality issues, and a production bottleneck. What's going on?" Elon exhaled slowly. He knew this conversation was coming. David had been supportive of Tesla's vision from the start, but investors didn't have the luxury of waiting forever for the company to deliver. "I understand your concern," Elon said, keeping his tone even. "We've encountered a challenge with the new battery technology, but we're addressing it. We've already identified the problem and are working to fix it." David was silent for a moment, and when he spoke again, there was a hint of impatience in his voice. "Elon, investors don't want to hear about problems. They want solutions. You've got a world-changing product on your hands, but if you don't get this under control, I'll have to rethink my position." Elon knew David wasn't bluffing. Tesla had been through tough times before, but if the investors lost faith, it could spell disaster. Elon couldn't afford to let that happen. "Give me a week," Elon said, his voice firm. "I'll get this fixed. We're on track, I promise." In the days that followed, Elon poured all his energy into solving the battery issue and calming investors' fears. Tesla's engineering team worked tirelessly to redesign the cooling system and address the overheating problem. They tested the new components rigorously, ensuring that the vehicles could safely hit the market without further delays. At the same time, Elon knew he had to keep Tesla's larger vision alive. The company wasn't just about solving the problems of today, it was about shaping the future. He pushed forward with plans to expand Tesla's energy business, focusing on battery storage solutions for homes and businesses. He also started preparing for the release of the Visionary model, which had been delayed by the battery issue but was still expected to revolutionize the market once it was ready. Elon also took time to meet with key investors, reassuring them that the company was on the right path. He knew that Tesla's future wasn't just about solving immediate problems. It was about convincing the world that Tesla had the vision, the technology, and the leadership to stay ahead of the competition. By the end of the week, the first batch of the redesigned battery packs passed testing, and production resumed at full speed. The crisis was averted, but Elon knew that the pressure was far from over. Competition was fierce, and every mistake could be a fatal blow. Yet, in typical Elon fashion, he remained optimistic, knowing that the challenges ahead were just another part of the journey. The events of the past few weeks had left Tesla on edge. The company had narrowly avoided a disastrous setback with the battery overheating issue, but the ripple effects of that crisis continued to reverberate. Stock prices had dipped, some investors had pulled back, and media headlines focused on the potential risks of working with Tesla. For the first time in years, the company was not seen as invincible. Elon Musk, however, was no stranger to adversity. He had faced near bankruptcy, the skepticism of the public, and countless obstacles that threatened to derail Tesla's mission. But he was not ready to let Tesla's destiny be determined by a single setback. If anything, the crisis only fueled his determination to come back stronger. One evening, after another exhausting round of meetings, Elon sat alone in his office. The building was quiet, the hum of computers the only sound filling the room. It was moments like this, late at night when the world outside had calmed down, that Elon often found clarity. He gazed out of the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Palo Alto, the stars visible through the smog. Tesla was more than just a car company. It was a revolution. The kind of revolution that could change the way people lived, how they thought about energy, and even the very air they breathed. But with that kind of ambition came pressure and responsibility. Elon couldn't afford to let Tesla falter now, not when it was so close to achieving its grand vision. In that moment, he made a decision. Tesla would face this challenge head-on. But to do that, they needed to get back to the heart of what had made them successful in the first place: innovation and boldness. The company had to not only fix the current issues, but leap forward faster than anyone had imagined. The next morning, Elon called an emergency meeting with Tesla's senior leadership team. The atmosphere in the room was tense. Everyone knew the stakes. Sarah, Robert, and the heads of engineering, production, and marketing all sat at the long conference table, awaiting Elon's direction. "I've been thinking about our next steps," Elon said, his voice steady but full of resolve. "We've had our setbacks, but I don't want us to just get back to where we were. I want us to leap ahead. We're going to roll out what I'm calling Roadmap 2.0. It's our new vision for the next 5 years." He looked around the room, locking eyes with each of his team members. We've already proven we can build the best electric vehicles. But now we need to take it further. We need to build the world's most efficient, most sustainable, most autonomous transportation ecosystem. And I don't just mean cars. I mean energy, AI, and everything in between. We're not just fighting for market share anymore. We're fighting for the future of transportation. Elon's words hit like a jolt of electricity. Sarah leaned forward, clearly intrigued. You're saying we expand beyond just cars? Yes, Elon replied. We need to integrate everything: cars, energy, AI, self-driving tech. And we need to move quickly. We don't have time to wait. We need to start working on a whole new set of products, partnerships, and innovations that will make our competitors irrelevant. Robert, the COO, raised his hand. That's ambitious. It sounds like we're talking about building an entirely new ecosystem, not just cars and batteries. But what about the immediate issues? The overheating battery packs, the production delays? We can't ignore those. Elon nodded. We'll fix those. But fixing them isn't enough. We need to be ahead. Always. So, from now on, the mission is clear. We'll deliver on the promises we've made with the visionary model, and we'll go above and beyond to redefine what it means to be a leader in clean tech. With Roadmap 2.0 officially launched, Tesla went into overdrive. Elon was relentless, pushing his team harder than ever before. He insisted on near-daily updates on progress, demanding transparency and accountability at every level. Sarah's engineering team worked day and night to perfect the battery design, while Robert oversaw the ramp-up of production, ensuring Tesla could meet the massive demand it was about to face. Elon, however, wasn't just focused on fixing the past mistakes. His mind was always on the horizon, thinking ahead to what Tesla could achieve next. In the weeks following the meeting, Tesla's engineers began brainstorming new breakthroughs, pushing the envelope on battery density, energy efficiency, and autonomous vehicle integration. One of the major initiatives under Roadmap 2.0 was the development of a new energy solution called Power Grid. Unlike anything Tesla had done before, Power Grid was designed to provide homes and businesses with clean, renewable energy, stored in a network of high-efficiency batteries. Essentially, it was a large-scale version of Tesla's home battery solution, but with the capacity to power entire neighborhoods and cities. Tesla also doubled down on its AI-driven self-driving technology, creating a separate division focused on perfecting the visionary model's autonomous capabilities. Engineers worked to enhance the car's ability to learn and adapt to any environment, making it smarter with every mile it drove. As Tesla moved forward with Roadmap 2.0, the company didn't just focus on the products, it focused on the culture. Elon knew that innovation couldn't happen if people weren't inspired, and he pushed the company to be more daring, more creative, and more relentless than ever before. Just as things were starting to look up, Tesla faced another challenge, one that came from an unexpected place: Ford. Ford's Fusion EV, which had been introduced as Tesla's direct competitor, was quickly gaining traction in the market. What Elon hadn't anticipated was how aggressively Ford was going after Tesla's loyal customer base. They had launched a massive marketing campaign that targeted Tesla's supposed luxury appeal, trying to convince consumers that Ford's EV was not only more affordable but also more practical. Ford's aggressive pricing strategy threatened to undermine Tesla's sales, particularly with the Model Z, which was positioned as a premium product. Elon was frustrated, but also determined to use this as fuel for innovation. "We can't let them outmarket us," Elon said during one of his team meetings. "They may be able to match us on price, but they will never match us on innovation. We need to be more disruptive. We need to accelerate the rollout of the visionary model and ensure that our cars remain the best option in the market, not just in terms of quality, but in terms of what we stand for. We need to show the world that Tesla is the future of transportation." To combat the market pressure from Ford, Elon instructed the marketing team to focus less on traditional advertising and more on educating the public about Tesla's vision. They launched a new initiative, Drive the Future. This campaign focused on Tesla's innovation not just as a car company, but as a movement, something that could change the very fabric of society. The visionary model was showcased as more than just a car. It was a leap into the future of transportation, one where AI and clean energy weren't just luxuries but essential parts of a new, sustainable world. As for the Model Z, Its price point was adjusted to make it more competitive with Ford's Fusion EV, but Tesla was determined to maintain the superior quality and performance that had made it famous. As summer turned into fall, the first signs of Roadmap 2.0's success began to show. Tesla had managed to ramp up production of the redesigned battery packs, addressing the overheating issue without sacrificing performance or efficiency. The visionary model was on track for release, and it was clear that Tesla's autonomous technology was light years ahead of Ford's Fusion EV. The market began to take notice. Elon's aggressive strategy paid off, and slowly but surely, Tesla's stock began to rise again. The negative press started to fade as the company's commitment to innovation became more apparent to the public. And perhaps most importantly, Tesla's loyal customer base stood firm, rallying behind Elon's vision for the future. Tesla wasn't just fighting to remain relevant in the electric car market, it was fighting to redefine the way the world thought about energy, transportation, and sustainability. And with Roadmap 2.0, Elon Musk had given the company the momentum it needed to push through the pressure and build something truly revolutionary. As Tesla's momentum began to build again with the success of Roadmap 2.0, Elon Musk found himself facing a new and unexpected challenge: the growing power of government regulators. While Tesla had always been a disruptive force, it had also been operating in a regulatory gray area for many years, especially regarding autonomous driving technology and energy solutions. With rising competition and Tesla's increased prominence, government agencies, both in the US and abroad, began to scrutinize the company more closely. Tesla had faced regulatory challenges before, but the scale and intensity of this new wave of oversight was unlike anything they had experienced. The Department of Transportation, DOT, had begun making noises about self-driving regulations, questioning the safety and legality of Tesla's autopilot system. Meanwhile, environmental agencies were beginning to press for more stringent emission standards, with some critics arguing that Tesla's energy storage products weren't as eco-friendly as advertised. To make matters worse, Elon had just learned that Tesla was facing a lawsuit from a group of consumers claiming that the Model Z's range was being misrepresented. They argued that the range of the car wasn't as advertised in real-world conditions, and now it was heading to court. This lawsuit was a potential PR disaster that could derail Tesla's image as a leader in clean technology. Elon's first instinct was to fight back. Tesla had faced similar challenges before, and he had always been quick to challenge authority when it came to pushing the boundaries of innovation. But this time, the stakes felt higher. Tesla's public image was fragile, and the company was at a tipping point. In the midst of this turmoil, Elon received an unexpected call from someone who had previously been one of Tesla's most vocal critics, Senator Natalie O'Connor, a prominent U.S. lawmaker known for her staunch environmental stance. "Mr. Musk, I need to talk to you." Senator O'Connor's voice came through the phone, steady and serious. Elon had never imagined he would hear from O'Connor. The senator had always been one of the biggest opponents of Tesla's aggressive pace, particularly when it came to issues surrounding self-driving technology and the impact of mass production on the environment. She had called for stronger regulations on companies like Tesla, claiming they were moving too quickly without considering the potential risks. "What's this about?" Elon asked, his curiosity piqued. "I've been doing some thinking," she said, "and I'm starting to come around to the idea that Tesla could be more than just a car company. It could be a solution to a lot of the challenges we're facing in terms of climate change, energy sustainability, and reducing dependence on fossil fuels. I've been following the developments with your power grid initiative, and I think you're onto something." Elon raised an eyebrow. He knew that convincing a politician of O'Connor's stature wasn't easy, especially someone who had been so critical of Tesla in the past. "I'm listening," Elon said. "I think we can work together," she continued. "I've been talking to some of my colleagues in the Senate, and we're considering a new bill that could provide tax incentives for companies like Tesla to expand their renewable energy solutions. But I need your cooperation on something. We need Tesla to commit to certain safety standards with your self-driving technology. If you can get behind that, I'll be your ally in Washington. And I'll help you with these regulatory issues you've been facing." Elon was taken aback. This was the kind of partnership he had never expected, but it felt like the perfect solution. The government was tightening regulations, but instead of being an adversary, O'Connor was offering Tesla a way to navigate these challenges, provided they met certain safety requirements. After a few moments of contemplation, Elon replied, "If you're serious, Senator, I'm in. We'll cooperate. But it has to be a partnership, not a compromise." Tesla's legal and PR teams immediately began working with Senator O'Connor's office to draw up a framework for the new bill. The partnership was risky, but it had the potential to smooth over many of Tesla's regulatory headaches. The bill would focus on incentivizing companies that were committed to advancing clean energy solutions while also ensuring the safety of new technologies like autonomous vehicles. In the meantime, the lawsuit over the Model Z's range continued to loom over Tesla. Elon knew that a drawn-out court battle could damage Tesla's reputation. He was willing to settle, but only if it meant preserving the integrity of the company's image. The legal team worked tirelessly behind the scenes to negotiate a settlement that would satisfy both the plaintiffs and the public, while keeping Tesla's commitment to transparency intact. Elon was also aware that the public perception of Tesla was a delicate thing. Every move had to be calculated, and Tesla couldn't afford to make any missteps. That's why he personally met with the media to discuss the company's efforts to address the overheating battery issue, as well as their commitment to improving safety with their autonomous driving features. He framed it not as a defense, but as an opportunity to explain Tesla's mission and the challenges they were overcoming. "I've said it before," Elon told a group of reporters, "Tesla isn't just about electric cars. It's about transforming the entire world. We want to make transportation cleaner, safer, and more accessible. But we're not perfect, we're learning. And we're going to fix the issues as quickly as possible." The real breakthrough came a few weeks later when Senator O'Connor stood beside Elon at a press conference to announce the new bill she was sponsoring, known as the Clean Future Innovation Act. The bill would offer tax incentives to companies focused on renewable energy solutions, including those working on electric vehicles, battery technology, and energy storage. "Tesla has led the charge in transforming the automotive industry," Senator O'Connor said, addressing the media. "And now, with their focus on expanding renewable energy storage solutions, they have the potential to lead the world in creating a cleaner, more sustainable future." This bill is about supporting companies like Tesla who are willing to push boundaries, innovate, and take the risks necessary to build a better world. The announcement was met with cautious optimism. While many environmental groups remained wary of Tesla's aggressive approach to self-driving technology, most praised the company's efforts to reduce carbon emissions and build a cleaner energy infrastructure. Elon knew that this was just the beginning of a long process, but it was a positive step forward. The partnership with Senator O'Connor had a ripple effect across the industry. Other lawmakers, seeing the momentum building behind the Clean Future Innovation Act, began to align themselves with Tesla's vision. Investors, too, were encouraged by the news, and Tesla's stock began to rise again, signaling renewed faith in the company's ability to overcome obstacles. For Elon, the experience was a reminder that innovation was about more than just technology. It was about relationships, negotiation, and understanding the broader impact of Tesla's mission. He had fought many battles, but this was one that required a different kind of strategy: collaboration. With the passage of the Clean Future Innovation Act and a renewed sense of optimism in the air, Tesla was back on its feet. But the road ahead was still fraught with challenges. The company was about to face its most critical test yet: the release of the visionary model. Elon knew that this car wasn't just any vehicle. It was meant to be a game-changer, a leap into the future. This would be Tesla's flagship product that would not only prove their dominance in electric vehicles, but would also solidify their position as the pioneers of autonomous driving and integrated energy solutions. But there were still doubts. Competitors, including the likes of Ford and Rivian, were moving quickly, and Elon was aware that the pressure on Tesla was only going to intensify. This wasn't just about creating another electric car. It was about reshaping the automotive and energy industries for generations to come. The visionary model was scheduled for its official unveiling in less than 6 months, but the road to the release date was paved with hurdles. Tesla's engineering team had been working around the clock to perfect the car's self-driving capabilities, while also addressing a series of production issues that threatened to delay the launch. Elon couldn't afford another setback. The pressure on the company was mounting, and if Tesla couldn't meet its deadlines, it would risk losing the momentum they had built with Roadmap 2.0. "Gents, we need to double down. No compromises," Elon said one morning, standing before his top engineers. He paced back and forth, his mind racing as usual. The visionary model is going to change the world, but we can't afford to rush it. The technology has to be perfect. I'm not going to stand behind something that isn't ready. The engineers nodded, clearly feeling the weight of Elon's words. The stakes were high. Every detail mattered, from the car's battery efficiency to the AI's ability to adapt to real-world driving conditions. Meanwhile, Robert, Tesla's COO, was in the thick of coordinating production. With demand for Tesla's cars already at an all-time high, ensuring the ramp-up of production for the visionary model was a logistical nightmare. Manufacturing facilities were stretched thin, and the company needed to ensure that every new vehicle met the stringent safety standards Tesla had set for itself. Elon, we need to have a contingency plan, Robert warned. We can't afford to fail. Not now. Elon's mind was a whirlwind of solutions and potential risks. But as always, his answer was simple. We'll make it happen. As the countdown to the official unveiling of the visionary model approached, Elon knew that simply meeting the production deadlines wouldn't be enough. Tesla had to prove that its self-driving technology was more than just a gimmick. It had to be flawless. This is when Elon made a risky decision. Instead of waiting for the official launch to unveil the car's capabilities, he chose to put the visionary model through a series of secret test runs across the United States. The idea was to test the car's AI and autonomous features in real-world conditions, pushing it to the limit without the pressure of media scrutiny or public expectations. Elon recruited a small, elite team of Tesla engineers and drivers who would secretly take the visionary model on cross-country road trips. Their goal was to simulate everything from urban driving conditions to long highway stretches, testing the car's AI, energy efficiency, and safety features. Elon's reasoning was simple. We need to be ahead of the game, or we'll be left behind. He trusted the engineers to iron out the last-minute kinks while also gathering data to fine-tune the system before the big reveal. The test runs were grueling. The team encountered all sorts of challenges, from erratic weather to complex traffic situations. But with each test, they learned something new. The car's AI was able to adapt to difficult situations with remarkable precision, adjusting its driving behavior based on data it collected from the environment around it. By the end of the test runs, the engineers had gathered enough data to make significant improvements to the car's AI system. One day, in the midst of a test run, disaster nearly struck. The team was driving through a mountainous region when one of the visionary model's sensors malfunctioned, causing the car to hesitate and fail to make an important turn. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the AI had lost control of the car. The vehicle swerved dangerously close to the edge of a cliff before the backup safety systems kicked in, bringing the car to a complete stop. It was a terrifying moment for the team. The malfunction was quickly diagnosed as a software bug, and the engineers worked to fix it, but the incident served as a wake-up call for Elon. Despite the progress Tesla had made, it was clear that they still had a long way to go to ensure the visionary model would be truly ready for mass deployment. Elon spent the next few days in deep reflection. He knew that this incident couldn't be ignored. The stakes were too high. Tesla's reputation was on the line, and with autonomous driving, any failure could lead to catastrophic consequences. After speaking with his leadership team, Elon made a critical decision. "We will delay the launch," he said decisively. "The visionary model is not perfect yet, and I'm not willing to put out a product that isn't fully ready. We're going to fix this, and we're going to make sure it works the way it should. No more shortcuts." It was a tough call, one that would undoubtedly disappoint many of Tesla's loyal fans and investors. But Elon knew that this was the right thing to do. He had learned the hard way in the past that rushing technology for the sake of speed could lead to disastrous results. In the wake of the decision to delay the launch, the media storm was immediate. Critics slammed Tesla for the setback, questioning whether the company could ever live up to its lofty promises. Some investors grew nervous, fearing that the delay would cause a loss of momentum, or worse, a decline in stock prices. Elon's resolve was tested like never before. Yet, despite the negative press, a surprising wave of support came from an unlikely place: Tesla's customer base. Many of Tesla's early adopters and longtime supporters expressed their understanding, with some even applauding Elon for his decision to prioritize safety over speed. The hashtag #TrustElon hashtag began trending on social media, a testament to the loyalty Tesla had cultivated over the years. Elon was taken aback by the outpouring of support. He had expected disappointment, but instead, the public seemed to rally behind the company's mission. It was a humbling moment for him. "We're not just selling cars," Elon said in a personal message to Tesla's followers. "We're building something bigger, something that will change the world. And change takes time. Thank you for believing in us." The months that followed the decision to delay the visionary model's launch were a period of intense work and constant refinement. Tesla's engineers, along with Elon himself, poured everything into ensuring that the visionary model would be not just good but exceptional. They needed a product that would be an undeniable leap forward, a product that would not only change the way the world thought about cars, but also change the future of transportation and energy. Every morning, Elon walked through the design labs, talking to engineers, scrutinizing the data from the test runs, and offering feedback. He was a perfectionist, driven by the vision of what Tesla could become. There were no compromises. If the visionary model wasn't perfect, it wouldn't launch. Period. One of the biggest challenges Tesla faced was perfecting the car's self-driving features. The malfunction on the test runs had underscored just how far the technology still had to go. But instead of seeing it as a setback, Elon saw it as an opportunity to make the car smarter, more intuitive, and ultimately safer. Tesla's AI team worked day and night to address the issues with the car's sensors, which had misinterpreted the terrain and caused the car to hesitate at the wrong moment. They fine-tuned the car's algorithms, allowing it to make faster, more accurate decisions in complex situations. They also introduced new layers of redundancy, backup systems that would take over in case of any failure in the primary systems. But it wasn't just the self-driving capabilities that needed perfecting. The visionary model had to be a statement in every sense: sleek, powerful, and built for the future. The design team focused on creating a vehicle that was not just a car but an extension of Tesla's vision. The exterior was aerodynamic, with a sculpted body that exuded speed even when standing still. The interior, however, was where the true innovation lay. Tesla was designing the world's first truly autonomous cabin, a space that would adapt to the needs of the driver, shifting from a traditional car to a mobile workspace or entertainment hub at the push of a button. The user experience was paramount. Elon wanted the car to feel like a second home, not just a mode of transportation. He believed that the future of cars wasn't just in their engineering but in their ability to transform how we live on the road. As the final prototype was being assembled, the anticipation surrounding the visionary model reached a fever pitch. Media outlets were buzzing with excitement, investors were keeping a close eye on every move Tesla made, and the public was eagerly awaiting a glimpse of the car that promised to change the world. The day of the visionary model's unveiling arrived. It was an event unlike any other. The venue was set in an enormous, sleek conference hall in Silicon Valley. Tesla had spared no expense in making sure this event would be remembered for years to come. There were no simple press conferences or standard product reveals. Elon had always loved to make a statement, and today, he was determined to deliver. The hall was packed with journalists, influencers, investors, and Tesla's most loyal customers. The atmosphere was electric, and as the moment of the reveal drew closer, the audience couldn't contain their excitement. Finally, the lights dimmed, and the audience fell silent. A single spotlight illuminated the stage where Elon stood, poised and ready to introduce the car of the future. With a grin that only Elon Musk could muster, he raised his hand, signaling for the dramatic moment to begin. A sleek, futuristic screen rose from the stage floor, revealing the visionary model beneath. The audience gasped in awe as the car emerged from its hidden stage, gliding forward as if alive. Its polished, silver exterior gleamed under the spotlight, and the doors opened automatically, revealing the luxurious interior, lined with cutting-edge screens and futuristic materials. "Elon, what are we looking at here?" one of the journalists called out from the crowd. "This," Elon said, his voice filled with passion, "is the future of transportation. The visionary model is not just a car. It's a glimpse into a world where driving, energy, and mobility are all integrated into one seamless experience. It's an autonomous vehicle built for the people of tomorrow. It's electric, smart, and sustainable, and it's designed to adapt to your life, no matter where it takes you. The crowd erupted in applause. But Elon wasn't finished. He motioned to the vehicle, and the visionary model came to life. The doors silently closed, and the car's dashboard shifted from a traditional driving interface to an interactive AI assistant. A holographic map appeared on the windshield, showing the car's route, real-time traffic data, and a suggestion for an energy-efficient charging station ahead. The AI system began to communicate with the audience in a calm, soothing voice, detailing its capabilities. As you can see, Elon continued, the visionary model is not just about getting from point A to point B. It's about a living, breathing interface that will help you make smarter decisions, not just for you, but for the planet. It's a mobile hub for a sustainable future. The future is electric, the future is autonomous, and it's here now. The crowd was on its feet, giving a standing ovation as the visionary model demonstrated its self-driving capabilities live on stage. The car smoothly glided through a series of test routes, smoothly navigating complex intersections, avoiding obstacles, and adjusting speed with remarkable precision. In the days following the reveal, Tesla's stock surged. Investors were ecstatic, and pre-orders for the visionary model hit record numbers. It was clear that Elon Musk and Tesla had done it again. The visionary model wasn't just a car. It was a technological marvel that captured the world's attention. Tesla was, once again, ahead of the curve. But despite the massive success, Elon remained focused on the future. He knew this was only the beginning. The visionary model was going to change everything, but Tesla still had much to do to solidify its role as the leader in clean energy and sustainable transport. The vision wasn't just about one car. It was about a global shift. Tesla wasn't just a company. It was a movement. And as long as Elon Musk was at the helm, the world could expect even more radical innovation in the years to come. Elon's journey from an obscure electric car startup to the CEO of the most influential company in the world had been nothing short of extraordinary. But as he stood before the roaring applause and the flashing cameras, one thing was certain. This was only the beginning of Tesla's mission to transform the world. And for Elon Musk, that was just the way he liked it. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?